Junqing. Menrue. Seeing the pair be knocked down by Zhang Qing, the faces of Zhao Hanyan and Long Nu changed. Xie Zhenyuan moved swift as wind to stand in front of Ho Ruoyan, blocking several concealed weapons. Princess, Dong Junqing was hugged by Zhao Hanyan. The Ling Yan princess knelt, her face full of tender feelings, which made the Long Nu watching from the side dumbstruck. Quickly returned to the star nest. Zhao Hanyan gently said, "Damned Zhang Qing. How could Dong Junqing ever be willing to concede defeat? Elder sister truly is passionate. However, if you do not leave, Biluo shall dispatch these sisters." Zhang Biluo appeared. The asking directions to the underworld stones flowed with multicolored light as they whirled around her body. They were like the Big Dipper, spinning with a regular pattern. "Zhang Qing, you dare be savage in front of this princess?" Zhao Hanyan's hand cradled Dong Junqing. The 72 outer void flying immortals' swords simultaneously emerged, spinning about. The beautiful and graceful true immortals of the psychic communication swords emerged, each and every one with a wild aura of intimidation, sharp and unstoppable. Incredible, the Ling Yan princess flying swords surprisingly have already reached the psychic communication realm. Yan Wudao showed an impressed expression. "Junqing, there is no need for you to show off. In facing Zhang Qing, just use defense." Zhao Hanyan's slender fingertips lightly brushed Dong Junqing's cheeks, her tender feelings in full bloom. To be able to obtain a Hanyan like this, Junqing can die without regrets. Dong Junqing's face was filled with a smile, her heart somewhat warm. Zhao Hanyan sighed. The Ling Yan princess and she truly are very passionate with one another. Long Nu was bewildered. Huang Mingrui propped herself with much difficulty along with Long Nu-S for support. Her whole body hurt enough that her bones seemed shattered. Bastard Zhang Qing. Concealed weapons truly were thoroughly repulsive. Mingrui. Against Zhang Qing's concealed weapons, forcing things will only produce the opposite result. Long Nu slightly chided. The art of war says, it is hard to avoid a stab in the dark. Zhang Qing was the king of top-notch concealed weapons. Even the chief of the 5 tigers Guan Xing would be powerless here. Against concealed weapons like these, the sole solution was defense. Guard against the enemy's concealed weapons until they were out of strength. Naturally, there would be no victory in battle. In fact, Dong Junqing and Huang Mingrui understood, but the two great martial generals working together could only act as people who refused reality. Regardless of whether it was the 5 tigers' great general or the earthly star heavenly king, their honor could not bear it. Our fellows still unwilling to submit. Yan Wudao spoke, his voice absolutely calm. Yan Wudao, watch this magic weapon. Zhao Hanyan bit open her fingertip and suddenly raised her hand. A 2-colored jade bracelet appeared. This jade bracelet flashed with alternating lights of cold and warmth, a multicolored glow. Yin-Yang bracelet. Yan Wudao immediately discerned the background of this treasure. The Yin-Yang bracelet was refined from the quintessence of heavenly Yang and earthly Yin. Normal flying swords completely could not come close, let alone stop them. In the case the Yin-Yang bracelet smashed into someone, their spiritual powers would be frantically sucked away. It could be said to be a 2-in-1 treasure. Never expected the Ling Yan princess to also have this treasure. Yan Wudao leaned backwards. The Yin-Yang bracelet carried a bracelet shadow as it chased after Yan Wudao. Yan Wudao tried to use his flying swords to stop it. As expected, before the flying sword could even get close, it was stopped by the Yin-Yang bracelet's Yin-Yang light. Yan Wudao wrinkled his brow, calm and unhurried. Ordinary magic weapons were ineffective, but star weapons were not the same. 5 asking directions to the underworld stones smashed towards the Yin-Yang bracelet. The 5-star concealed weapons had a better chance at winning compared to spirit treasures. Under Zhao Hanyan's divine intent, the Yin-Yang bracelet attempted to evade the concealed weapons, but the asking directions to the underworld stones hid, not a trace to be found. Turning in a circle, she heard clear pounding, which struck down the Yin-Yang bracelet. When Zhao Hanyan saw there were no results, she was considerably downcast. She lightly bit her lips, retrieving the jade bracelet. What are you two still waiting for? Xie Zhenyuan and Long Nu were startled. With tacit understanding, they raised magic weapons in succession. Whether it was a jade short sword or a clear pearl, 10,000 zhang light rays appeared. But the 5-star concealed weapon honestly was too awesome. Whatever magic weapon was brought out, so long as it was an offensive type, they would entirely be struck down by the concealed weapons. Since you want to die, then the sooner you can reincarnate. Zhang Biluo playfully giggled, her words full of a desire to kill. Agile star featherless arrow emitted countless afterimages that wandered their surroundings. The concealed weapons were like rain, attacking with high speed. Then Wu Dao shall offend everyone. Yen Wu Dao smiled. His sleeve shook, and a black compass appeared in his hand. The black light of this compass crisscrossed, giving birth to the sight of a brutish azura of the 6 paths compass. Zhao Hanyan's tone grew grim. Even the calm and composed Xie Zhenyuan showed astonishment. 6 paths compass. The prehistoric spirit treasure that was ranked 4th most powerful. This treasure could produce the lights of the 6 paths of samsara. Cultivators illuminated by the light would be selected for reincarnation, which was difficult to shake off. However, to use it also signified enormous magic energy. With Yen Wudao's supercluster middle stage cultivation, he would perhaps be withered after using it. But for the sake of thoroughly rooting out the dangers of the palace of Empress Hua, to make the 1,000-year tears his alone, Yen Wudao made his decision. Hey, Xie Zhenyuan, you are renowned as the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 Star Master. Could it be you do not have any magic weapons? Does the Most High Path not have the magic weapon known as the #1 prehistoric spirit treasure, the Supreme Ultimate Diagram? What about the Dual Modes Ruler, the 3 Clarities Banner, the 4 Symbols Seal, the 5 Elements Ring? Any one of the prehistoric 10 treasures is fine. Legend said that during the prehistoric era, the prehistoric 10 treasures were 10 kinds of spirit treasures that evolved from all living things. These treasures and the prehistoric spirit treasures list were not the same. They all developed their names for the Taiji or from a number. The prehistoric spirit treasures list existed because of this. However, with the passage of time and the refinement of cultivators, more and more powerful spirit treasures were born. Because the strength of the prehistoric 10 treasures differed, some would be displaced from the list, like the 6 paths compass that once had been refined by honored Sir Rebirth. 2. Its might was stronger than at any time prior, and thus, its rank rose to 4th. Everyone in the Azure Dragon territory knew that the Clear Void Most High Path gathered prehistoric spirit treasures. Practically every one of the Super Void ancestral masters had one. This kind of spirit treasure, how can the elders arbitrarily confer it to a star master? Xie Zhenyuan shook his head. I do not have a spirit treasure on me. Zhao Hanyan was speechless. Although she knew that Xie Zhenyuan could have been given up on by the Most High Path, she never expected them to have so thoroughly given up, to not have even one spirit treasure. Long Nu was also quite shocked. However, now was already too late to care about these complicated affairs. Yen Wudao flipped out the 6 paths compass. The sole thing that could contend against it was a Star General star weapon, but having been beaten down by Zhang Biluo, Dong Junqing and Huang Mingrui had no capabilities to resist. To be forced out of the palace of Empress Hua like this, Zhao Hanyan truly was very unwilling. Now that Yen Wudao was about to use the 6 paths compass, just at this moment, Yen Wudao sensed danger whistling over. Yen Wudao was too late to react. He could only use a flying sword to block, but a maid's punch struck home on his chest. The powerful energy made Yen Wudao flying away. Wudao! Zhang Biluo was astonished. Yen Wudao stopped in midair, his eyebrows raised. He was flabbergasted to see a cold and detached maid in front of him. Yin-yang carps swam in the space around her fists, and both of those fists emitted the lights of yin and yang. The newcomer, skillful star wanderer Yan Qing. Catching sight of Yan Qing, Zhao Hanyan's heart was overjoyed. She surprisingly breathed a sigh of relief, and the Lin Yang princess immediately was startled by her own thoughts. Yan Qing was but Su Xing's star general. In the star duels, how could she have this sort of feeling of relief? Yen Wudao had never thought that there would be more star generals behind the scenes in the palace of Empress Hua. Looking around, he noticed a water-like young girl dressed in a blue and white palace dress. Biluo. How could Yen Wudao dare slight Yen Qing in a confrontation, and he hastily retreated. Zhang Biluo already was fully charged. Spurring her green bird, she dissipated along with the wind, about to emerge in Yen Qing's surroundings at any time. An air-shattering noise continuously sounded. The asking directions to the underworld stones struck towards Yen Yizhen with absolute accuracy. Yen Yizhen's body slightly leaned, one fist in front, one in back, and one beautiful snow-white thigh positioned towards the rear as well in a pantherous attack stance. Little E, careful of the concealed weapons. Zhao Hanyan warned. Little sister seems to want to step into the road to the underworld? Zhang Biluo's fingers nimbly flicked all at the same time. The 8 concealed weapon became 8 streaks of light. Yen Yizhen vanished. What? Zhang Biluo's friendly smile ground to an abrupt halt. Yen Yizhen's figure had moved, and glimpsing only the fluttering of her skirt, the maid had instantly vanished from under the concealed weapons. Such quick body techniques. Zhang Biluo was startled, and she was too late to dodge. Yen Yizhen surprisingly already appeared right under her nose. A disdainful curve hung upon the skillful star's lips, her vermilion eyes retained her never-changing apathy. Furthermore, her fists suddenly burst forth with countless light rays. Yen Yizhen split off into countless shadows, her boxing pounding on Zhang Biluo's whole body like rain. Yellow technique. Swallow flash samsara. Zhang Biluo suffered this head-on. The green bird bucked, flashing with green light. Zhang Biluo immediately flew off, and the green bird replaced its mistress as the target for Yen Yizhen's attack. The Zhang Biluo, who was quite battered, was extremely angered, plum rain. The concealed weapons became a downpour. Yen Yizhen's figure dodged, disappeared again. Zhang Biluo also promptly activated God's appear devil vanish. Agile star featherless arrow felt that as long as she was careful of Yen Qing's swallow flash samsara, the concealed weapons would still be effective, just like with steadfast star Dong Junqing and malignant star Huang Mengrui. Biluo, look out. Yen Wudao's frightened voice roused Zhang Biluo from her imagination. Zhang Biluo dodged to the side, astonished to find that the maid was already laying in wait in the direction she flew in, as if she had anticipated this. The yin-yang carps frolicked, jumping about like they were in water. The skillful star's whole body blazed with the aura of yin and yang. How can this be? Zhang Biluo was astonished. As expected of the king of concealed weapons, she hastily changed directions. Yen Yizhen moved, unexpectedly catching up once more. Such quick reflexes and reactions. This is the extreme realm. Zhang Biluo's face turned pale. She was too slow. Yen Yizhen indifferently strode forth, already reaching Zhang Biluo's front. Her punches danced wildly. Like a phantom, her figure instantly became haze, disappearing once more. Bursts of hisses resounded in the surrounding air. The dust in the air was rolled layer upon layer by the wind pressure generated from this high-speed movement, blowing away sand and stone. Lingering on Zhang Biluo's body and flying away, the left and right hands pounded without stopping but nevertheless were soundless. Zhang Biluo could only shrink back, relying on a protective astral treasure for defense. A shout broke out. Yen Yizhen's final punch struck down Zhang Biluo. Yen Wudao rushed over, releasing his flying swords. He held the young girl in his embrace, for Zhang Biluo was already at her dying gasps, her eyes half open. Zhang Qing's concealed weapons were very powerful, but close-range combat was their greatest weakness. Return to the star nest. Yen Wudao shouted. Zhang Biluo sniffled, disappearing into the star nest. Everyone lost their voice. Agile star featherless arrow was dispatched under such circumstances. Yen Qing. Yen Wudao's eyes were like ice, manifesting a desire to kill. Yen Yizhen clenched her fist, just about to launch an attack on Yen Wudao. Suddenly, Ensuwen let out an astonished shout. She pointed at the statue. Everyone looked and gasped at the same time. From the sculpture of Empress Hua flowed a river of water that sparkled like gems, their rays glinting, wrapped in blue light. Even the deep blue of the sky and seas were unable to compare. The 1,000-year tears of Empress Hua. The current situation was a bit subtly bad. Looking at the jade-bodied Zhang Yuqi laid horizontally on the bed, Su Xing's brow showed intense worry. He took her pulse, gave her acupuncture, administered medicine, spirit medicine, pills. In brief, whatever methods Su Xing could call forth to heal wounds, he completely tested them, but white stripe in the waves was unable to awaken. Su Xing could not recall from whose stories, Grimm or Anderson, that Sleeping Beauty originated from. Could it be that he had to use something as terrible as a kiss to awaken her? Why? Zhang Feiyu grabbed her little sister's shoulder, shaking her. Shiyu hastily stopped her, so as to avoid shaking Zhang Yuqi apart before she woke up. Little sister. Yuqi. You little foul-footer. Zhang Feiyu's vocals were expressive, shedding silent tears, but that shouting voice made Su Xing feel increasingly awkward. At the sound of another cry, Su Xing interrupted Zhang Feiyu because he was concerned that she would add even more of her terrible anger. It seems something indeed is wrong with that weapon forged with the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone. Su Xing surmised. Nonsense. Zhang Feiyu glared at him. You, quickly help me wake little sister up, otherwise I will not give Shiyu to you. The implicated Shiyu's face turned red, both shy and expectant. Why would you involve me? Su Xing rubbed his forehead. Calm down. Calm down, Mayas. My little sister is sleeping like an idiot on the bed. Could it be that you cannot see that she currently can be violated at any time? Zhang Feiyu was irritated. Su Xing, Shiyu. Milord, it would be better to sign a contract with Zhang Yuqi. Shiyu fixed her gaze on Zhang Feiyu. Isn't this a bit like taking advantage of her? Su Xing's heart very much wanted to sign a contract with this blowjob girl, but seeing that elder sister nearly about to storm away, he still had to courteously ask. Taking advantage of her, you sissy, are you still that concerned right now? You must sign a contract with Yuqi. If you don't... Zhang Feiyu did not care that much at all. She actually was very willing to offer up her own little sister. The reason was very simple. By doing so, they could avoid future sister-internecine strife, let alone that her own contractor was very fond of Su Xing. This was precisely a match made in heaven. There was no choice of Star Master that was more perfect. If it was any other man, to think of touching her little sister, Zhang Feiyu would have already cut them to pieces first. Su Xing also knew that he could not let go of this mermaid. He had grown used to that blowjob that hung off her lips and that figure in water. Looking at Zhang Yuqi's pale complexion, his heart was uncomfortable. Nodding, Su Xing was no longer reserved. Zhang Feiyu looked down on him, as if this is your first time. Su Xing concentrated on Zhang Yuqi. Several groans occasionally broke free of the girl's lips, seemingly pained. According to Zhang Yuqi's current state, she should be incomparably debilitated. According to the formalities of Liangshan Continent's Star Dual Covenant, so long as one wished to be a Star Master, she could be contracted. Su Xing lowered his head and kissed her lips. This made the girl's groan that was thin as a reed enter his own throat. In that moment, Su Xing forgot about the contract, but his heart was wholly on his wish to alleviate Zhang Yuqi's pain. This kiss seemed to be like a miracle cure. Zhang Yuqi's groans slowly subsided. Su Xing began to dominate the girl's lips. His tongue hooked in her warm and supple tongue. It was most probable that there was no one else in this world who could be more experienced in hot kisses with star maidens than Su Xing. Water illusion fairy Shiyu and boatman Zhang Feiyu and even Hunyangzi stared dumbstruck. That was an extremely inseparable. Their passionate kiss made them unable to help but feel their hearts beat faster. Shiyu's face was envious. She truly wanted herself to become the partner for Su Xing's deep kiss. To kiss my sister. Zhang Feiyu gasped. She shrieked, for her little sister had been defiled. Shiyu stopped her, shaking her head. Zhang Feiyu bit her chapped lips, feeling sick to her stomach. The kiss ended. Su Xing panted. Zhang Yuqi's lips were seriously outstanding, manifesting the tenderness of water, the mildness of ice. He nearly was unable to stop. Su Xing rubbed his forehead. What's happened? Is little sister better? Zhang Feiyu hastily stepped forward. Zhang Yuqi's complexion was somewhat better. Of course, she could not rule out that this bastard's kiss made her little sister's face turn red from lack of air. But Zhang Yuqi still did not wake up. What is going on? Why has she still not awakened? Zhang Feiyu truly was panicky. Dear husband? Hunyangzi felt confused. Did you not sign a contract? Shiyu's eyes were wide. Su Xing gravely nodded his head. Following the logic of the kiss contract, there should have been no problem. When he kissed Zhang Yuqi just now, what Su Xing thought about in his mind was not the star duels, only the hope he could allow the girl to rally. According to the conditions of the kiss contract, they should have fulfilled it. Su Xing's heart had an ill feeling of foreboding, so he flipped out the birth treasure outline. Golden light glowed. Zhang Yuqi's data materialized. Everyone looked and they were all stunned. In current status, there was a phrase, soul has been lost, cannot be conquered, soul has been lost? This never-before-heard-of status made everyone confused. Just what the hell is that 9 Nether Devil Star stone? Why are things like this? Zhang Feiyu's expression flowed with an angry bewilderment. Su Xing's answer, he was unable to answer. He had no idea what this thing was. Pertaining to the 9 Nether Devil Star stone, other than already knowing this was a Devil Stone of Star World and that it could be forged into a Star Maiden star weapon, there was no more information. Dear husband, what do we do now? Hunyangzi wrinkled her brows. Damn it, I will go kill Guaning right now. Zhang Feiyu's anger exploded. Don't make trouble. Su Xing shouted to stop her. Do you still want to add on to our problems? Zhang Feiyu had just thought to hit back when she suddenly noticed that the brow of the man in front of her was tightly wrinkled. That concern was not an appearance at all, rather unease that came from his heart. This kind of worry made Su Xing loathe all kinds of screaming. In light of the face for you stealing little sister's first kiss, I shall not argue with you, Zhang Feiyu thought, but she immediately felt this reason was honestly ridiculous. Silence. A long silence. We have to first go clearly grasp what the 9 Nether Devil Star stone is before we can remedy it. Su Xing lifted his head. Are you going to the Devil Star Palace? Shiyu was even more worried. Not for the time being. Right now, I'm going to find a person I know. She has the highest quality information in Liangshan continent. I'm confident she will know the reason. Su Xing said. Who is so incredible? Shiyu said in astonishment. Noble star little whirlwind Chai Ling. Su Xing spat. Huh. All of the girls were shaken. They looked at Su Xing, those expressions uniformly saying, impossible, you even have a friendship with the Queen Noble Star placed outside of the star duels. Inside the palace of Empress Hua. The 1,000-year tears of Empress Hua flowed out, interrupting Yenizhen's killing stroke on agile star featherless arrow Zhang Biluo. Zhao Hanyan, Xie Zhenyuan and Long Nu did not hesitate at all to release every kind of magic weapon to gather the 1,000-year tears of Empress Hua. The crystalline river that was like a dragon spitting out pearls flowed directly into every sort of magic weapon. The group exhausted their greatest strength to gather just a few more of the 1,000-year tears. The 1,000-year tears of Empress Hua could not be directly used at all. Rather, it needed to undergo a cultivator's refining, to refine these teardrops true 1,000-year tears of Empress Hua. However, this process was extremely difficult. Sometimes, a tone of tears could fail, thus, the group strove to gather as much as possible. And the 1,000-year tears of Empress Hua also indicated the closing of the palace of Empress Hua. Yen Wudao could only put away his baleful aura. After all, he had come to the palace of Empress Hua for the sake of the 1,000-year tears. The one air bottle he had just obtained and undergone a simple divine intent installation was perfect to use. The current situation had become considerably interesting. Zhao Hanyan, Long Nu, and Yen Wudao's star generals were powerless to continue battle, yet on the contrary, Xie Zhenyuan's star general Ho Ruolian that had been called trash was still capable of fighting. If her heavenly silkworm treasure silk and backlighting divine needle were to actually meddle with them, it would be as easy as turning over her hand. Xie Zhenyuan might as well did not have this plan. His star general was simply adorable, merely guarding by his side. The golden needles and treasure silk wove together as she nervously eyed Yen Yizhen. Originally, star masters should have been obstructing their counterparts from obtaining the 1,000-year tears. A life or death situation surprisingly did not appear, which truly made people flabbergasted. And Suwen also released an astral treasure. Yen Yizhen was expressionless. She did not care about Ho Ruoyan at all, but she would not let go of Yen Wudao. The girl's figure moved. Yen Wudao released his rebirth flying swords. Fellows, with Yen Qing here, are you all still indifferent? Long Nu and Xie Zhenyuan thought that what he said had some logic, so they each released flying swords to attack Yen Yizhen. Even little E could only evade and evade again in the face of the 3 great supercluster middle stage cultivators' flying swords, which were difficult to break free from. Go! When Yen Wudao saw the quiet and somewhat incapable of harm in Suwen, he noticed that he had apparently seen her somewhere before, but he could not recall. He merely treated her as Yen Qing Star Master. A beam of black light flashed, and a black blade attacked in Suwen. And Suwen blinked. The humane healer efficacious star showed surprise, but then a green storm suddenly flew out. It surrounded the black blade, and then the spiritual power in that black blade suddenly died out completely, becoming scrap iron. Essence swallowing dragons. Everyone was shaken beyond compare. No one had expected that gentle young girl would surprisingly be the most dangerous. Go! Long Nu promptly released the Night Pearl. There were rays of light reaching 10,000 zhang, which blocked the essence-swallowing dragons. Xie Zhenyuan and Yen Wudao did not dare be careless, controlling the flying swords at the same time they contested. Ling Yan Princess, why do you still not act? Yen Wudao was expressionless. He noticed that Zhao Hanyan surprisingly was unconcerned, a calm and composed appearance. Even the steadfast star had an attitude of not wanting to care. Yen Qing also has essence-swallowing dragons, very dangerous. Yen Wudao reminded about the severity of the situation. Mingrue. Long Nu said, Guardian of 3 mountains Huang Mingrue ingested a pill and lifted her flying waterfall dragon cry sword to attack in Suwen. Since Yen Wudao wishes to make this princess take action, then she shall. Zhao Hanyan mockingly said. The Ling Yan princess nearly wanted to call out that they were the women of this princess man. Why would this princess make a move against them? Yen Wudao only felt Zhao Hanyan's words were very fishy, but he did not know what part was wrong. Even if Yen Wudao was bright enough, he would never have thought that Suwen and Yen Yizhen were invited by Zhao Hanyan. Zhao Hanyan controlled the 72 outer void flying immortal swords. The corner of her lips curled into a sneer, for she was about to first kill Yen Wudao. At this time, they suddenly saw a golden light charge over like a shooting star. The essence-swallowing dragons were knocked into a disordered heap. And Suwen could only recall her astral treasure and retreat. That starlight was very powerful. It easily severed the connection of Zhao Hanyan and others had while collecting the 1,000-year tears. The leftover power surprisingly jolted each of them several dozen steps back. Everyone was frightened. Star Masters, you have signed Star Duel covenants. It's too illegal for you to also take something like the 1,000-year tears. Terribly sorry, but today, Shower will be taking them. The golden light receded, and in the sky appeared a mighty woman straddling a golden qilin. Her hand held a golden lance, and though her bearing was dignified, it did not lose any charm. At those seemingly smiling eyes, anyone would have knowingly smiled back upon seeing them. Except that no one present was able to smile. Imagine that at the moment each of their star generals totally returned to their respective star nests, Maiden Mountain's strongest martial force maiden would take center stage. Any star master would be dejected enough to be driven mad. Jade Qilin Lu Xiao has seen all of you ladies and gentlemen. Lu Xiao's smile was sweet. With Lu Junyi in front, Yen Qing behind, Yen Wudao and the others only felt that this trip to the palace of Empress Hua honestly was irregular. What was even more irregular was that in the previous internal conflict, both sides had suffered losses. Now, it was difficult to say if they had the qualifications for another battle. This truly was in both name and reality a situation where the fisherman got both the snipe and the clam. Dark technique, flowing water does not rot. Huang Mingrui changed her attack direction without the slightest hesitation. Relying on her crystal pill to finally use her dark rank technique, the flying waterfall dragon cry sword's sword chi suddenly expanded 100-fold. A dragon's cry rang out, and the water light rippled. A heavenly river seemed to hang below the sword, transforming into an eddy that filled Lu Zhao's line of sight. Lu Zhao's face wore a slight smile. The star unicorn dragon horse's golden light glinted. The golden Qilin lance shuddered, releasing a spearlight. Immediately afterwards, the star unicorn brought Lu Zhao into a charge, its speed extremely swift. The power had instantly increased to the limit. Clang clang. Worthy of one named an earthly star for heavenly king, Huang Mingrui unexpectedly blocked Lu Zhao's charge. Even the Jade Qilin herself was considerably surprised. Constant activity prevents decay. Huang Mingrui shouted. The countless whirlpools in the air seemed to pounce like locusts towards Lu Zhao. Countless splashes exploded. A heavy rain poured down in the palace of Empress Hua. The golden Qilin broke out of the rain. The Qilin's imposing aura burst out of the downpour. Malignant star Huang Mingrui held her sword, and her figures suddenly stopped. The water swords quickly slashed, and the countless sword chi shattered every place the rain fell upon. The Qilin reared onto its hind legs, immediately releasing an arrow from a zhang away. The sword chi crisscrossed where Lu Zhao was standing originally, exploded, bursting out with a boiling splash. Lu Zhao smiled and the golden Qilin lance fell. Huang Mingrui used all her strength to resist, attempting to search for the perfect opportunity while she evaded. Lu Zhao took back her lance. Suddenly, a gap appeared. Without the slightest hesitation, she seized her chance. Huang Mingrui's sword chi continuously emitted, instantly pouncing up. The Lu Junyi that was strongest in martial force showed a gap. That signified the battle should have ended. She was caught in the trap. Just before the tip of Huang Mingrui's sword got close, she was amazed to discover that seemingly subtle gap at Lu Junyi's hand suddenly turned from rotten to amazing. Golden light changed directions and pierced through from unexpected angles with inconceivable speed. Little sister, rest for now. Lu Zhao appeared behind her, calmly asserting. Huang Mingrui groaned and was already run through by the lance. Long Nu's head sunk. Lu Zhao glanced at the others. Junqing. Zhao Hanyan did not dare slight her. Although Dong Junqing was exhausted, she knew that she needed to take action to buy Zhao Hanyan time. Lu Junyi, have some proper sex with your servant. Dong Junqing raised her double spears and attacked. Lu Zhao blinked. But the already completely exhausted Dong Junqing could hardly stop the fully domineering Jade Qilin of soaring morale. After several exchanges, Dong Junqing was killed back into the star nest. Countless flying swords shrieked out. The golden Qilin bellowed, arbitrarily swaying among the flying swords. It went to and fro like the wind, and all of a sudden, Lu Zhao's figure flashed away. Not good. The group was greatly surprised. Lu Zhao descended in front of them. The lance rose and fell, sending the tenacious Ho Ruoyan back for a nap in the star nest. Xie Zhenyuan's complexion changed, but he slightly blocked and then escaped. To face the 4-star strength star, who would have the courage to dare allow her to get so close? First, Lu Zhao said, her lance coming again. Long Nu's flying swords were broken, but she was unwilling to concede defeat. At once, she shook her sleeve without saying a word. Suddenly, there was a clear cry. Several dozen watery flying swords swam out from her sleeves like fishes, transforming into a qi-long sword light that revolved indeterminately in front of her body. Immediately, Long Nu's hand seals activated as she soared into the sky and gently pointed. All of the sword lights shuddered, the water lights glowed, and in the next instant, they became several hundred unique sword lights. Slightly fluttering, the golden sword chi practically filled half the sky. Appearing like glorious waves, the power was astonishing to the extreme. For the sake of fighting for time to collect the 1,000-year tears, Long Nu could only activate her spirit treasure, Mountain River Sword. 2. Lu Xiao put herself into a charge. The jade qilin shook apart the mountain river sword. Her blades tipped directly hooked Long Nu's abdomen. If it could be said, Lu Xiao did not mind killing a Star Master before the fourth phase ended. Although this meant she could not see the peak of her strength. The mountain river sword shattered, and Long Nu had no choice but to retreat. Second, Lu Xiao again eyed Yen Wudao. Yen Wudao used the 9 turns escape technique in an attempt to confuse Lu Junqi, to similarly fight for time to collect the 1,000-year tears. Lu Xiao smiled, feeling this man was very interesting. Acting without any mercy, the jade qilin's figure disappeared and then reappeared. Already, the matchless 9th stage jade qilin was playing hide and seek in front of him, honestly having brought about his own doom, let alone there was still the golden qilin she rode upon. Yen Wudao was the third to leave the palace of Empress Hua. Princess Ling Yan, could it be you do not wish to gracefully leave? Lu Xiao stopped her dazzling attacks. She remounted the golden qilin, giving Zhao Hanyan a slightly friendly smile. This princess wishes to gracefully socialize with the legendary jade qilin. Zhao Hanyan smiled. The golden qilin became a bolt of golden light that immediately charged over. The 72 outer void flying immortals' swords could not be underestimated. Lu Zhao's figure flashed, leaving from the qilin's back and instantly passing the flying sword's encirclement. Her lance directly stabbed at Zhao Hanyan's chest. Princess Ling Yan's expression sunk, just so happening to hesitate about whether to escape or not. Suddenly, a ray of yin-yang light came in front of her, blocking, surprisingly shaking off jade qilin Lu Xiao. The maid indifferently appeared. In regards to Yen Yizhen's aid, Zhao Hanyan also felt surprised. Yen Yizhen and Su Wen, you have also come. Where is Su Xing? Lu Xiao looked at the surroundings but did not spot Su Xing's figure at all. Curious, she said, could it be he has not come? Elder sister Xiao, I trust you have been well since last we met. And Su Wen tenderly said, sorry, little sister Su Wen. As expected, there is no way we can have something like compassion in the star duels. Lu Xiao helplessly smiled. Speaking of which, your young master has contracted so many sisters? This is already very rule-breaking, and to also have the 1,000-year tears actually is very greedy. Big brother has had difficulties. And Su Wen said. Lu Xiao shook her head, smiled. If Xiao was to always throw her contests, the star duels would lose their significance. It would be better to, in that instant, Lu Xiao's expression emitted a dangerously excited light. It would be better to fight right here. And Su Wen forced a smile. Yen Yizhen was cold and detached. The yin-yang carps flowed around her fists. The maid's imposing aura surged into the clouds. The golden qilin stepped on air, its presence concentrated into a point. The troubling imposing aura made even Zhao Hanyan feel stifled. Looking at those gorgeous yin-yang carps, a light flashed past Lu Zhao's pupils. The wind stopped at the main hall. Sensing this heavy atmosphere, Zhao Hanyan could not help but stow away her magic treasure that collected the 1,000-year tears. The 72 outer void flying immortals' swords moved restlessly. A thunderclap leveled the ground. Lu Xiao spurred her qilin wildly. Little E, take this. The Mount Tai-sized figure was pressing, the golden qilin lance raised. Afterwards, something dazzling as the 5 mountains fell. Yin-yang palm. Yen Yizhen's palms boomed forth, like blades of yin and yang. Suddenly, Lu Xiao disappeared from the qilin's back. Yen Yizhen was too late to think any further. The yin-yang palm struck the star unicorn dragon horse. The star beast's might could not be outdone. Even if she was at the extreme realm, the 4-star destined weapon Yen Yizhen could feel slightly taxed. The maid increased her effort. Suddenly, she sent Lu Junyi's star beast flying. The maid turned her head back. Lu Xiao was already falling in front of Zhao Hanyan. Her objective was not Yen Yizhen at all. The golden qilin lance slashed with a ray of golden light, directly launching towards Zhao Hanyan. Strength Star Jade Qilin's smooth and flowing attack made Zhao Hanyan very surprised. Fortunately, her flying swords psychically returned to her side in time, but immediately afterwards, The 4-star lance directly broke the flying sword defenses. Zhao Hanyan knew the Jade Qilin was forcing her to leave. Without a star general's protection, how could Zhao Hanyan persist? With an unresigned grunt, she used the jade pendant to escape. The 4th. Lu Xiao turned her head around, pointing her lance at Yan Yizhen. Now, no one will bother us, little E. Keep me company. Before she had finished speaking, Yan Yizhen had already made her attack preparations. Her leg moved, and her figure vanished. With her 5 fingers like blades, the yin-yang carps of her gloves made shower both delighted and resentful. Bang! A terrible sound, and a large amount of blood was shipped into the sky. Lu Xiao's figure already shot far away like a shooting star. In just that split second, Yan Yizhen forcibly stepped across the several zhang of space between them, her speed quick as a demon. Before Lu Xiao could even react, skillful star wanderer Yan Qing already attacked with a chop. Her frightening strength instantly erupted, and Lu Xiao's body could not help but fly away. The palace of Empress was sculptures that were in the way shattered, for this momentum was astonishing. Lu Xiao rose from the ashes. Her attitude was still full of a cruel and unruly arrogance. Extreme realm, truly a formidable realm. Lu Xiao patted off the dust, as if the blood that sprayed from her wounds was fake. Yan Yizhen was expressionless, not baffled how Lu Xiao could downplay this. She vanished, and reappeared in front of Lu Xiao. Lu Xiao's body hung in the air. Gentle golden light already appeared from her body, quickly forming a barrier, helping her resist the power of this blow. But it appeared that Yan Yizhen's action did not relent in the slightest. Of course, confronting the strength star ranked first in martial force was suicidal behavior. Boom! A large amount of earth and stone burst into the sky, unexpectedly reaching a height of more than several zhang. The nearby air showed a shockwave visible to the naked eye. Golden light rays filled the sky and fluttered, and an enormous hole appeared in the middle of the palace of Empress Hua. The terrifying strength and frightening destructive power made Suwen watch with great fear and trepidation. But Lu Xiao already sat on her star unicorn dragon horse, her appearance considerably beautiful. The yin-yang carps can promote all aspects of a star general's realm and star weapon, but there is an enormous flaw. Lu Xiao wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth, her smile not extinguished. Yan Yizhen calmly listened to her big talk. And that is, Lu Xiao smiled. Before she finished speaking, she already charged forth. A chilly astral wind made the air cut to ribbons. Hey! Yan Yizhen's fists went to block. The golden Qilin lance and the yin-yang Pisces punch made their first exchange. Her fist immediately went numb. Yan Yizhen's body sunk, nearly falling to a knee. Yan Yizhen had the yin-yang carps bolstering her status to increase her capabilities, but Lu Xiao also similarly had the assistance of her star beast. By doing so, she was not at a disadvantage, let alone that Lu Xiao's realm already reached matchless 9th stage's peak, no more than a step from the extreme realm. Add on her top-notch martial force and 4-star destined weapon, this absolutely was an opponent that Yan Yizhen even felt was thorny. With thundering hoofbeats, there was the sound of a thunderclap in the wind. The golden Qilin fully displayed a holy beast's absolute might. Pop! There was a muffled sound. The golden Qilin roared, and Yan Yizhen's fist punched through like a cannonball. Then, the maid did not stop at all. Her figure nimbly turned around, and by the means of the strength of her blow, she spun where she was. Her other fist already brought a severe sound of wind and once again attacked the star unicorn dragon horse. With a chilly light glinting in her eyes, her movements brimmed with a severe qi. Its figure instantly spread out. The star unicorn dragon horse's golden light flooded out, and its pace became even sharper, dodging Yan Yizhen's attack. They came and went rapidly in the hall. The star unicorn dragon horse spat out a ring of golden light hooked to another ring. The Lu Xiao on the Qilin was raising her lance for the right opportunity to move. The lance's shadows became layered. The attack of the Lu Xiao on the Qilin's back not only became even more vast, its power was also extreme. Yan Yizhen leaned to dodge past Lu Xiao's lance, keeping close to the star unicorn dragon horse's side. Her left arm waved out a fist, leaving behind an afterimage. The yin-yang carps followed their mistress' thoughts and began to exert power. This power seemed to be connected, shooting a flame-like warm light, like a spear piercing the star beast's scales. The star unicorn dragon horse suddenly was struck by the punch. Its footsteps stumbled backwards. With an easy turn, Lu Xiao flipped her hand and stabbed with the lance, forcing Yan Yizhen away. Suddenly exerting force to her legs, Yan Yizhen's figure once again accelerated even more. Her figure practically was stuck along the ground, drawing a beautiful trajectory. When she spun around, her right fist abruptly struck the ground, borrowing the force to instantly close the attack distance. Her boxing was like rain, a flurry, the movements linked yet fierce. Those cold and detached pupils glinted with the radiance of the yin-yang carps. Ice-cold light exploded out. With such a sharp attack, Yan Yizhen's moves were dazzling, making Lu Xiao nearly unable to keep up. She seriously made the strength star give her a whole new level of respect. Little E impressive. Lu Xiao shouted. Her golden Qilin lance shuddered. The lance immediately shot out several shooting stars. These shooting stars were apparently killing intent yet not, as if they had their own intelligence, just like a sharp sword automatically escaping Yan Yizhen's entanglement. The lance's light fell from the heavens, and at nearly the moment it descended, it became a Qilin shape, hissing in attack. Yellow rank technique. Qilin falls sky flash. It was already too late for Yan Yizhen to retreat at this time. The skillful star met it head-on, her attack not inferior to Lu Xiao's. The golden light and blue light's boxing technique dominated in one move, unexpectedly seemingly never stopping. Her footsteps were even more unusually incomparable, continuously launching yet connected. Combined with her practically non-stop punches, she unexpectedly caught the sky flash. A sharp power flashed past Lu Xiao's pupils, and she seized her chance. All of a sudden, the girl's figure moved. Her entire body left the Qilin, instantly leaping off. The golden Qilin lance stabbed out with an abundance of power. The strength star's star beast seized the chance to display even more power. Yan Yizhen single-handedly charged in, her fists forging ahead. And Suwen was choked to speechlessness upon seeing this scene. Bang! The palace of Empress Wa let out an enormous noise, seemingly stopping at this moment. A mournful wail. Lu Xiao's star beast was slain. At the same time, Yan Yizhen withdrew 100 steps, blood leaking from the gaps between her fingers and dripping onto the ground. Sister Little E. And Suwen cried out and stepped forward. She noticed that Yan Yizhen had not sustained too great an injury at all, but Yan Yizhen's power was oddly plummeting. And Suwen suddenly discovered that one of the yin-yang carps swimming along Yan Yizhen's hands had already disappeared. Lu Xiao wore an easy grin. She finished what she originally only left half said. The yin-yang carp's greatest flaw is that it is too weak, so very easily killed. That was correct. If the yin-yang carp was killed, she would lose them, and Yan Yizhen's status would naturally drop. After all, the yin-yang carp was a star beast. So long as they were a star beast, they were not possibly an exception. Yan Yizhen was expressionless, having no assessment of her words at all. She gazed at the cold yin carp on her left hand. Those cold pupils showed tenderness. She shook her head slightly at Suwen, hinting to her there was no need to worry. Then, flinging her hand, the yin carp also disappeared. Do both little sisters accept Xiaoer's opinion? Lu Xiao calmly began to gather the 1,000-year tears. The astral treasure she raised was a curved horn. Softly blowing, she sucked in more than 100 tears. How could Yan Yizhen concede defeat? And Suwen tugged at her, shaking her head. Strength star Lu Junyi honestly was too powerful. The Yan Yizhen that was without the yin-yang carps could not possibly continue battling Lu Junyi. But your servant will not accept. A thoughtful voice suddenly answered. And Suwen and Yan Yizhen were startled, but Lu Xiao apparently was not surprised at all. The corner of her lips wore a smile, and she glanced out the side of her eyes. A white tiger appeared in the palace of Empress Wa. The woman on the white tiger had an absolute beauty that made people feel stifled. The words of this apparently ice-cold goddess summed up who she was. Her long hair seemed to flow like a waterfall past her and her impressive curves were fully displayed. If one was a man, even an abnormal man would indulge in fantasies. Elder sister Seo. And Suwen shouted in pleasant surprise. The beautiful woman's legs stepped on the palace of Empress was rippling water. Wu Seo dismounted the white and black unicorn tiger. Seo, it truly has been a long time since we last met. Lu Xiao said. She was not surprised that Wu Seo would appear. The pilgrim possessed the pilgrim's array innate skill. The inescapable great array outside the palace of Empress was nothing in the eyes of Wu Seo. Xiao cherishes the time we first worked together very much. Lu Xiao's smile was warm. Wu Seo also made a rare smile. Lu Xiao, are you truly planning to obstruct Lord Husband? Originally you were even itching to kill Su Xing. Now, you actually address him as Lord Husband. Truly, though things have remained the same, people have changed. Lu Xiao sighed with sorrow. Your servant will not let you do this. Wu Seo did not care that she had changed. Hey, little sister Seo, is that man truly so good? That even you would be moved? Lu Xiao blinked, curiously speaking. Xiao, why do you not go learn about Lord Husband yourself? Noble Frost Demonic Lotus already appeared in Wu Seo's hand, her murderous aura slowly encircling her fingertips. Xiao certainly will go look for understanding. Lu Xiao did not hide her thoughts one bit. Then what now? Wu Seo lowered her head and softly spoke. A breakdown in negotiations, naturally. Lu Xiao raised her lance, her powerful attack suddenly filling the room. Tang Lianxin sat on a ley line. The great sun essence flame butterfly was behind her, its wings blazing with orange fire. The famous Zhen Wu divine iron hovered in front of Tang Lianxin. Following Tang Lianxin's great void golden lotus becoming an essence fire divine weapon that held up the Zhen Wu divine iron, Tang Lianxin continuously poured in star energy. Each time the great sun essence flame butterfly's wings were brightly lit, that signified the girl using full power. Her entire stone face slowly began to change. Slowly, the Zhen Wu divine iron gradually melted. The great void golden lotus then became a crucible that she placed the melted iron into. After a while, the entire piece of Zhen Wu divine iron finally was completely melted. She repeated the course of events several dozen times. In the end, the Zhen Wu divine iron finally completed refinement into material usable in forging a divine weapon. After the final piece of Zhen Wu divine iron was completed, Tang Lianxin let out a breath. The great sun essence flame butterfly let out a butterfly that perched on Tang Lianxin's shoulder. Seeing that she had helped her elder brother refine the Zhen Wu divine iron, Tang Lianxin's heart had a certain satisfaction, and a rare smile appeared on her lips. She put away the Zhen Wu divine iron and was just about to leave when her divine intent suddenly moved. Su Xing had returned. Liked it? Su Xing used the jade pendant to teleport back from the Black Turtle territory to the Azure Dragon-linked 4-style school's Immortal's abode. The water illusion fairy Shiyu and Zhang Feiyu who came along felt extremely fresh. The Liangshan jade pendant could create 3 Immortal's abodes, teleport over 10,000 li, but it was very rare for a Star Master to actually use it. Every frantic escape in the Star Duels was a possibility to live on, extremely previous. Who would be willing to keep opening Immortal's abodes? Zhang Feiyu said, Su Xing, you're too extravagant, you truly do not plan things. I can't be at ease handing my little sister to you. Su Xing rolled his eyes at her. The Immortal's abode can offer a precious item, why wouldn't I open another one, let alone that one chance to flee is enough? No wonder. The vast majority of Star Masters were Heavenly Spirit Outlaw Jade pendants. The treasures from opening an Immortal's abode could not compare with those from the Purple Star level. The space in the Immortal's abode flashed. Tang Lianxin walked out, her expression slightly joyous. Lianxin. Has elder brother come to take the Zhen Wu divine iron? Lianxin has already finished refining them. The 12 bright cases appeared in the air. Su Xing took them into his astral bag in passing. Currently, Zhang Yuqi's status far surpassed the Zhen Wu divine iron. Elder brother, what is the matter? Tang Lianxin thought that her refinement of the Zhen Wu divine iron had a problem. Something has happened to Yuqi. I'm preparing to go find Chai Ling. Su Xing smiled and explained. Tang Lianxin glanced at the girl against Zhang Feiyu's chest, somewhat confused yet only nodding slightly, not saying anything. Su Xing introduced everyone. Although they were prepared, to find out she was the earthly solitary star was still considerably surprising. Zhen Wu Divine Iron? For milord to have even something like this, Shiyu wonders what you are doing. Shiyu curiously said. This is all thanks to Yuqi. Su Xing said. There's no time to lose, we're going to find that noble star right now. Zhang Feiyu was stern. All right. Su Xing's group could not delay. The progression of events at the Palace of Empress was already nearing a crisis. Sparks showered everywhere, a fervor permeating the entire area. The ringing sounds of clashing iron, noble frost, demonic lotus, and the golden Qilin lance instantly passed through more than 100 exchanges in the blink of an eye. After following Su Xing, Xiao wonders how Little Sister's martial arts are right now. Lu Xiao already arrived above Wu Xiao's head when she was switching to defense. The lance did not hesitate in the slightest to slash downwards. Wu Xiao spun around in passing, the noble frost demonic lotus in her hand drawing out a jet-black sword light carrying snow. Again, she blocked Lu Xiao's lance. For star? Lu Xiao's eyes glinted. As expected of the successor of last generation's overlord. The distance between their previous encounter in the Buddha Kingdom was no more than a month, yet in this short time, the 3-star destined weapon had already ascended to 4-star. Xiao, Xiao truly wants to work together with you to ascend. Then sign a contract with Su Xing. Wu Xiao answered. Could it be you truly are prepared to sign a contract with him? Lu Xiao smiled. Wu Xiao was silent. Jade Qilin's body was delicate, like a butterfly. Each and every time, she made evasive maneuvers that were unimaginable. Each step, each movement of her wrist was like a butterfly flapping its wings. The gentle flaps raised a domain within the storm of her attacks. The golden Qilin lance glittered with a dazzling slash. Jade Qilin was collectively recognized as the head of martial force among Maiden Mountain's 108 generals. However, this martial force could be better described as evenly matched. In a close-quarters battle, Harm's star pilgrim Wu Song also was an expert. The pair tyrannically battled incomparably, making Yen Yizhen incapable of interfering. Bang! A sword light blew out from the noble frost demonic lotus tip. Lu Xiao sidestepped, the sword chi grazing past her body. Wu Xiao's cold eyes caught the path of Lu Xiao's evasion. Noble frost demonic lotus spun and stabbed. The sword chi eerily turned and sprayed out, just like a cyclone, sweeping a vacuum into the air. Lu Xiao's lance retracted, striking apart the sword chi in an attack not to be outdone, but Wu Xiao's true attack only began now. Without any more superfluous maneuvers, Wu Xiao's double-headed noble frost demonic lotus split in her hands, becoming the double swords noble frost and demonic lotus. One was cool as frost, the other astonishing as ink, following her in close quarters. Hey! Wu Xiao's swords crossed. Due to the energy, a hole was ripped into the air. Lu Xiao's breathing stopped. The golden Qilin lance blocked horizontally, making the sword tip brush past her cheek, drawing a line of blood. The other sword swung down the other way at the same time, stabbing towards Lu Xiao's thigh. Time simply was unable to reflect the speed. Lu Xiao swayed. This gap arrived before Wu Xiao's eyes, and with a kick, she stepped onto Wu Xiao's knee, and then, she stepped onto her shoulder. That slender thigh was like a drill, an enormous penetrative force immediately pushing Wu Xiao practically to her knees. Jade Qilin was not to be outdone. Her hands gripped the lance and stabbed downwards. If it was any other star general, Lu Xiao's graceful attack would have ended things, but Wu Xiao was well versed in these things. Her shoulders shrugged, almost mountain-like, and a powerful killing intent burst forth. Immediately, Lu Xiao was shaken off. The ground was turned to dust by the lance. Lu Xiao held the shaft, landing light as a feather. Xiao, do you not wish to collect the 1,000-year tears? Could it be you have come to the palace of Empress only for the sake of obstructing Xiao? Lu Xiao smiled and asked. The light of the azure thousand-year tears already was beginning to fade. The palace of Empress Hua was on the verge of fading away. Wu Xiao was unfazed. Then Lu Xiao, are you prepared to stop? Apologies, no can do. Lu Xiao smiled. She vanished. Lu Xiao gently strode forward, her figure astonishingly disappearing. Even Wu Xiao was unable to catch on to a trace of Lu Xiao. Yan Yizhen stood guard of Ensuan's surroundings. Suddenly, a gale roared. A gale from who knows where blew directly in Wu Xiao's face. Her long hair and the hem of her clothes gently fluttered in the storm. The harm star was unmoved, practically a statue, looking at this storm as if it was nothing. Xiao, take this. Bang! An intense explosion. Lu Xiao appeared in front of her. The double swords crossed, blocking in succession. Wu Xiao's speedy reactions left even Lu Xiao feeling danger. But how could Lu Xiao's attack be so simple? A golden light brushed past space. When Wu Xiao received the attack, the power suddenly toppled mountains and overturned the seas. Wu Xiao was expressionless. A light flashed past her starry eyes. The noble frost and demonic lotus double swords surprisingly shook out of her palms by this explosive power. The four-star weapons drew a graceful curve in the air, sticking into the idol of Empress Hua. The skin of her hands split, and blood gushed forth. Dark rank technique. Cavalry breaks apart 1,000 militaries. The double swords flew off, leaving Wu Xiao wide open. Unarmed and defenseless, she faced towards Lu Xiao. At this time, Lu Xiao's dark rank cavalry breaks apart 1,000 militaries manifested. The lance pierced through a thin line, stabbing with perfect accuracy towards Wu Xiao's chest. This thrust practically put Wu Xiao in a situation where she sat and awaited her death. Elder sister Xiao. And Ensuan turned pale from fright. She wanted to use mind-stealing smoke and rain, but this time was already too late. Lu Xiao's eyeballs glanced. She considered giving up on stabbing Wu Xiao's heart, but when she saw the pilgrim's completely fearless smile, Jade Qilin suddenly felt danger. The corner of Wu Xiao's mouth slightly curled. Suddenly, her body techniques changed, walking with mysterious footwork. Inevitable death had surprisingly been amazingly avoided. The lance penetrated Wu Xiao's shoulder, but this was not at all able to stop the harm star's absolute counterattack. When Wu Xiao made her move, she seemed to have a mandarin duck's crest on her head, and her feet seemed to have the tuft of tail of a mandarin duck. At the same time, her legs and feet made circles. The four circles combined from top to bottom, and the left and right swapped into a mating pair, just like inseparable mandarin ducks. Jade ring steps, mandarin duck legs. 2. Lu Xiao showed a bitter smile. This was bad. Pilgrim Wu Song had no need for a star weapon to be able to contend against a star general as a powerful opponent. The already close by Lu Xiao completely was too late to dodge. Wu Xiao's slender curves suddenly unfolded. That instant of flexibility was like a butterfly, and her footsteps were swift as lightning, just like the meteor shower of a star chessboard. One ring linked to another, very profound. With a sway, not only did she dodge Lu Xiao's fatal strike, she even closed the distance to be in front of her. Her footwork invaded, her attacks quick, attacking left and right, circling front and back, closely locked with one another, pressing in step by step. Lu Xiao suffered through Wu Xiao's footwork. The bones of her body seemed about to be kicked apart, basically unable to make a response. In the end, Lu Xiao could only nail her lance. Only then did she barely break out of Wu Xiao's kill zone. At this time, Lu Xiao's whole body was injured, her inner organs seemingly burning. However, Wu Xiao was no better at all. Her shoulder's bone was already ground apart by the lance's baleful aura, blood flowing like a river, painful enough to make Wu Xiao grimace. Elder sister Xiao, elder sister Shower, stop fighting. And Ensuan could not stand this, using life-returning magic hands on both of them. Surface wounds could be healed, but internal injuries nevertheless took some time to recover. Little sister Suan, doesn't this make things very difficult for Shower? Lu Xiao showed a vexed expression. She completely did not expect Ensuan would heal her. Continue fighting, your servant's dark technique has not yet been used. Wu Xiao's hand beckoned, and Noble Frost and Demonic Lotus returned to her palms, again assuming a fighting stance. Elder sister. Ensuan cried. This time, slave servant shall assist you. Yen Yizhen was cold. Sister Little Yi. Ensuan was frantic. How could they have anticipated that Lu Xiao would return the golden Qilin lance to the void? Strength Star Jade Qilin completely did not have that sort of fervor for battle. Don't fight, don't fight. Shower should just collect the 1,000-year tears and be done. Oh! Wu Xiao's brows rose. That man Su Xing is already a very big cheater, anyways. There isn't much difference one more time. Lu Xiao said, disheartened. Wu Xiao protecting that man like this honestly made her very envious. The 1,000-year tears are nearly gone. And Suwen said. The azure blue water was increasingly dim. Wu Xiao instantly no longer wished to continue the deadlock. The space of the palace of Empress Hua warped, shuddering unsteadily. A powerful force seemingly wanted to throw the group out from within the palace of Empress Hua. The palace of Empress Hua is about to close. Let us be at a bit of peace for the time being. Lu Xiao smiled. They did not hesitate any further. Gong Kaiwei walked along some nameless corridor in the palace of Empress Hua. The repulsion of the space made the young girl increase her pace. The immortal hero princess came to a heap of rubble, a room that did not catch the eye. Looking around, she suddenly formed a hand seal. Several artifacts flew out from her astral bag and revolved in Gong Kaiwei's surroundings. Gong Kaiwei had inherited Zhu Sha's magic circles, so she was also very adept at breaking arrays. Several dozen arrays were quickly laid, forming a beautiful barrier. Starlight flickered. The faintly discernible space suddenly was cut apart as if by a blade. Legend said that the palace of Empress Hua once had a top-notch star cultivator who did not escape in time. From a freak combination of factors, they were trapped to their death within. Rumor said they once seized the tears of Empress Hua right from in front of several martial generals of great star masters. This must be the place. Dense skeletons sitting in meditation appeared before Gong Kaiwei. Senior Grand Pure 1, 3, Kaiwei offends you. Gong Kaiwei put her palms together and bowed. Great Circle Castle, ink incense burned. Noble star little whirlwind Chai Ling's expression was languid as she laid upon an aromatic chair. Her snow-white jade legs were exposed from underneath her skirt. In her bosom, she teased a cute three-eyed cat that was currently tunneling in between Chai Ling's breasts. Xing'e, how are you and he the same? Xing'e, you truly are naughty, this palace must punish you. Xing'e, as expected, do you like this palace? Xing'e, Chai Ling's rich as jade, coquettish voice continuously spoke. The Kongho nearby buried in books could not take any more. Chai Ling, has your period come? To unexpectedly treat a cat as a man and flirt. Chai Ling was slightly drunk, her face flushed. She opened her fan to cover her red lips. This palace is bored. If you are bored, then help your humble servant find information. Are you not very concerned about that man named Su Xing? Is there not the divine mathematicians him as well? Come, help your humble servant look through these. Kong Ho threw over a thick almanac. It would hurt very much if it were to smash onto her. The woman did not consider Chai Ling's beauty that was too weak to withstand a single blow. The three-eyed cat, Xing'e, opened its eye and released a beam of golden light, which smashed the book down. Xing'e truly is this palace's good darling. Chai Ling petted, smiling. She slightly wagged her finger, and several pieces of pure gold flipped out. When the three-eyed wealth-inviting beast saw this, it mewed meekly and coquettishly. It opened its mouth and adorably ate the gold. You truly are a couple. Kongho laughed. The three-eyed wealth-inviting beast specially ate gold, precious gems and metals, and so on. Furthermore, it used these sorts of things as a way to attack. It was also considered an extremely unique star beast. Perhaps only the rich and overbearing noble star was capable of raising it. How goes deciphering the verse? Chai Ling asked her. The Qilin snow shines red. White wave raises golden wind. Bright moon's inviting cup intoxicates a night. The broken arrow beauty plays the Kongho. The sound is faint for a millennium. Without her, your lifetime is nothing but a dream of golden millet. Kongho read, "This verse honestly is strange. It even has your name, Kongho. Could it be saying that Kongho is the crux to Su Xing's star duels?" Chai Ling teased. "He wants to conquer your humble servant?" Kongho openly smiled. She scratched her messy hair. "Then your humble servant will have to groom and dress up first." Chai Ling was silent. "However, if it is true, this verse is indeed strange." Kongho was serious. Hearing the graveness in her words, Chai Ling's charming gaze glanced over. "How so?" One line of the verse ought already have been verified now. "White wave raises golden wind." Saying this, Chai Ling's heart was somewhat unclear. That unfaithful man took a trip to the Black Turtle territory and unexpectedly again hooked up with two sisters, which was truly defiant of the natural order. Perhaps this verse is referring to the star generals that Su Xing will contract? Chai Ling surmised. From the looks of "white waves raises golden wind," things were unfolding in this way. The sound is faint for a millennium. Without her, your lifetime is nothing but a dream of golden millet. Kongho pointed at this verse. She stroked her chin, pensive. If this is so, "faint for a millennium" is referring to the pilgrim Wu Sio who has never signed a contract in a millennium. She ought to have said something that exposed the final conclusion of the star duels. This phrase indicated "without her." Just who was this "without her"? What did "dream of golden millet" mean? According to the logic of this dream of golden millet, without this one, these star duels would become completely meaningless, but Kongho flipped through countless records of star duels and did not find anything. Currently, it seemed that regardless whoever was missing, the star duels continued to operate. Could it be referring to you, Chai Ling? You have been outside of the star duels. In fact, is it indicating that you must participate in the star duels to be able to finally end these star duels? Kongho teased. Her guess apparently was very logical. Chai Ling was blank for a while, sinking into contemplation. If this is so, Chai Ling, you can be at ease. In the end, it seems you will become that man's woman. Kongho rested her cheek against one hand, flipping through a book with the other as she spoke freely. "Elder sister, what nonsense are you saying? How could this palace like a man as unfaithful as that?" Chai Ling used her golden thread feather fan to cover her half-worried, half-delighted face. "You are even pretending in front of your humble servant." Kongho glanced at her, a sort of, "Don't be so tsundere, Queen Your Highness" look. Ever since you and he parted ways, you have always secretly kept track of his whereabouts. You care so much about him. Do not tell your humble servant that you are merely in heat, Chai Ling. Elder sister truly speaks without hiding anything. Chai Ling's face was red. Fortunately, this library did not have outsiders, otherwise, she definitely would have stormed off in a huff. Little restrained actually has. Kongho showed pure white teeth, that smile making Chai Ling grit her teeth. Mentioning Su Xing, Kongho asked her, "And what has that man been doing as of late?" "This palace does not know." Chai Ling did not want to answer. "Chai Ling, you can also throw tantrums?" Kongho said, "Your humble servant wants his location. It is better for deciphering the verse." Chai Ling muttered. Su Xing and the Zhang sisters went to Black Turtle Temple, but afterwards, they constantly have not appeared. This palace completely does not know his status at all. That water illusion fairy has also vanished. It seems they definitely have obtained the great good fortune pill and eloped. Truly unfaithful. This palace does not know what part of that man is good, to unexpectedly start a harem in front of this palace's eyes. He was truly thoroughly repulsive. Then why do you follow him so closely? About this palace naturally is thinking of ascertaining his true colors. Besides, this palace and he have the together to hell. If something was to happen to him, this palace would also suffer. Concern is only natural. Chai Ling felt this justification was very good. Chai Ling, if you continue this, be careful of missing your opportunity, or there will be no more. Kongho pursed her lips. reminding her about the information they learned from the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion, Su Xing's maximum of 15-star generals. Now, Su Xing already had 10-star generals. Not outside of expectations, he already had husband and wife addresses. The intimately affectionate Wu Siyou and even White Stripe in the Waves Zhang Yuqi may possibly become Su Xing's 11th and 12th star generals. Although there were several other spots, to think that Su Xing had just barely walked into the Black Turtle territory and was contracted by the most beautiful of Maiden Mountain's 108-star generals, Bright Star 10 feet of blue Husanyang, heaven knew how many more this man would attract before the final phase ended. Could it be this palace cannot sign a contract with anyone else? Chai Ling smiled. Chai Ling, are you actually able to do so? Kong Ho grinned widely. Drinking the together to hell was just like a husband and wife exchanging marriage ceremony cups. To make Chai Ling sign a lifelong contract with anyone else, with Chai Ling's pride, that basically was an impossible matter. Chai Ling's brow wrinkled. But the star generals on Jiang Shueishue's verse are not related to this palace at all. Hearing that Chai Ling was somewhat emotional, Kong Ho smiled. Your humble servant has read books for so many years, Chai Ling, you guess. What is your humble servant's greatest gain? It is elder sister's clever and eloquent bronze teeth? Chai Ling sneered. No word games. Kong Ho said, Liangshan continent's written language is broad and deep. One phrase can have multiple explanations, and just like this verse, people who have different thoughts can comprehend countless ways of thinking. Is having a relationship not so simple? Elder sister's meaning is? Chai Ling looked pensively. The Bright Moon Longevity Palace. Are you not inviting him to go collect the tears of Vega together? This is a perfect opportunity. Kong Ho yawned. Bright Moon's inviting cup intoxicates a night. Chai Ling recalled this line of the verse. Bright Moon, inviting cup, intoxicates, a night, Chai Ling muttered. Noble star little whirlwind wrinkled her brow. To be intoxicated for a night with a man, it sounded as if it had some sort of heart-throbbing, blush-inducing negative connotation. Meow. The three-eyed wealth-inviting beast on her bosom mewed. Chai Ling regained her senses. Out of the corner of her eye, she suddenly noticed Kong Ho was currently mockingly looking her up and down. Just now, she appeared to have been too concentrated on this matter. The noble star was slightly resentful. Your humble servant is but truly thinking for your sake, Chai Ling. Kong Ho shook her head. Why would this palace want to send herself to him? Chai Ling felt that even if she signed a contract, she would have absolutely no face before those sisters. Then it would be more interesting for her to wait in the Purple Firmament Palace and tease Xinga. Kong Ho disapprovingly said, Queen Your Highness, could it be that an otaku hikikomori like you is still hoping that on the outside a wave of people will voluntarily chase after you from all directions to give rise to a deeply moving story? But how can this palace throw herself out there, let them belittle myself? Chai Ling was very determined. So, create the opportunity yourself. Do not always wait for a meat pie to drop down from the heavens. Kong Ho was like an elder giving patient guidance. Fine, elder sister Kong Ho and this palace will go contract with him together, how about that? As long as a contract is possible, your servant will groom herself. This sort of counterattack was a small appetizer to Kong Ho. Having been shot down, Chai Ling twitched her lips. Chai Ling, do you not feel bored right now? Participate in the star duels. Since you can become the first noble star to obtain a star beast, then why not be the first little whirlwind to ascend Maiden Mountain? People who always wait for others to initiate often will achieve nothing, have nothing. Kong Ho challenged her, belittled her. Elder sister Kong Ho is less and less like an elder sister. Kong Ho laughed. Chai Ling stroked China. As she pondered, Kong Ho once again sunk her focus into the sea of books. Outside the door, Jinji and Yuye stepped forward to report. Milady, Su Xing is outside the castle, requesting an audience. Is it actually Su Xing? Chai Ling was a little surprised. She had just been confused as to where this man had gone. She never expected that he would instantly appear before her right now. It appears he also is concerned about you, Chai Ling. Kong Ho mockingly reviewed. Noble star Little Whirlwind's lips carelessly rose. Have him come to the purple fragrant palace. As you bid. Chai Ling indolently rose. Her jade-like breasts raised wonderful curves. Don't go into heat. If you are, do it in front of that man. Kong Ho smiled unhappily. Seeing Chai Ling so charming, Kong Ho smiled. A bit of craftiness flashed through her eyes. He came at the perfect time. Purple fragrant palace. When Su Xing spotted Chai Ling, she had her customary charm. Zhang Feiyu and Shiyu's mouths gaped. They were subdued by Chai Ling's graceful and lovely air. This made Chai Ling considerably satisfied. These sisters are? Chai Ling feigned ignorance. This is my wife. Su Xing introduced Hunyangzi. This is my daughter. The Bai Yu Tong against his chest was like a little rat, incessantly timid. 2. Su Xing, are you dragged down by a family to feed? Chai Ling was defeated. She glanced at Shiyu and Zhang Feiyu. That must be your lover. Shiyu smiled, not at all offended by this sort of speculation. Zhang Feiyu pursed her lips. She very much disliked Chai Ling's haughty behavior, but the little whirlwind had a very bossy and powerful aura. Add on that this great circle castle style was extraordinary and mightily impressive, the boatman was quite pressured. If she was a lover, then she was a lover. It was not as if she would lose a piece of flesh. Zhang Feiyu was silent. The dainty maids steeped tea for the guests, but how could Su Xing have the mood to chat with Chai Ling right now? His mind was wholly placed on Zhang Yuqi. I have something I want to ask you to help with. That depends on this palace's mood. Chai Ling was determined to put on airs for this man, gracefully stroking Xing. How could Su Xing not see Chai Ling's haughtiness? So he explained Zhang Yuqi's circumstances. After Chai Ling finished listening, she put away her queen-like charm, her bearing dignified. She stepped off the fragrant couch, hinting to Jinji and Ye to lay Zhang Yuqi onto the couch. Oh, her skin is so white, how is it so glossy? Chai Ling murmured. First take a look at just what's happening. Is she also your lover? You are truly worried. Chai Ling stared at Su Xing, unhappily asking. Did you ask Suan? Chai Ling said, efficacious star divine physician ought to be able to take care of this. Suan isn't with me. Let alone this seems to not have anything to do with her wounds. Su Xing hesitated. How do you say? Su Xing and my little sister are unable to sign a contract even though they tried. It says she has a soul has been lost status. I fear it's the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone. We want to know if you have any solutions, Chai Ling. Zhang Feiyu could not help but ask. He truly is a womanizing man. Chai Ling glared at Su Xing, lowering her head in contemplation. She stroked the Persian cat in her bosom. The 9 Nether Devil Star Stone? This palace honestly has never heard of it. Even you don't know? Su Xing found things thorny. What is the point of being so worried? Star generals cannot possibly be unable to sign contracts without reason. We need only investigate for medicines that are capable of curing the 9-star Devil Star Stone. This is the purpose for which dear husband came. Hunyangzi looked oddly at Chai Ling. She overall felt that noble star Little Whirlwind and her dear husband had improper feelings. How much more charming could those eyes be? The Great Circle Castle has countless records of the star duels. This palace will help you search. It would be better to rest again tonight. This palace just so happens to have some spirit medicines that we can see if perhaps they are useful. Chai Ling thought. They could only do so for now. Jinji, Yuye, prepare a sumptuous banquet. This palace wants to properly entertain the sisters. Chai Ling ordered. As you command, milady. Jinji and Yuye withdrew. Wait here a while for now. This palace shall go change clothes. Little Whirlwind faintly smiled, turning and walking into her chambers. So amazing! This is the legendary noble star Little Whirlwind placed outside of the star duels. Water illusion fairy Shiyu had long heard of Chai Ling's reputation. Compared to the awe-inspiring Great Circle Castle, the Black Turtle Territory's 9 Dragons Palace and Devil Star Palace became insignificant. She's just a bit arrogant. This Chai Jin seems to be interested in Su Xing. Zhang Feiyu twitched her lips. How did milord become acquainted with noblewoman Chai? Shi Yu's curiosity was what the others wanted to ask as well. It was nothing. We collaborated in Evil Smiting Hall. Su Xing summarized. As for the together to hell matter, he made an understandable omission. He presumed the haughty Chai Ling would not wish for others to know about this. Chai Ling did not leave at all. She merely stayed behind a screen. When Su Xing's words entered her ears, seeing him remember their matters very vividly, her heart was somewhat happy. This man actually is meticulous, however. Shooting a glance at the hateful Hunyangzi, Chai Ling was again a bit gloomy. Kong Ho said to sign a contract, but what could an utterly powerless star general like her even do? 15 was the limit. Was this man truly willing? Complicated thoughts bubbled forth in her heart. Messy, messy, messy. Returning to the ink incense room, Chai Ling spotted Kong Ho still buried in books. What, Chai Ling, your mood has soured. Kong Ho glanced out the corner of her eye. That man is tied down by a family. This makes this palace so gloomy. Chai Ling said, jealous. Kong Ho smiled. Chai Ling opened her fan and fanned herself. Elder sister Kong Ho, have you heard of the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone? The 9 Nether Devil Star Stone, your humble servant saw it recorded in a secret annal. Kong Ho recalled, wrinkling her brow. Why did he ask about this? This item must be encountered, not obtained. The white stripe in the waves seems to have been cut down by a 9 Nether Devil Star Stone enhanced Great Blade. The result is that her soul has been lost, incapable of signing a contract. Kong Ho muttered to herself. Does elder sister have any solutions? Have them rest for the night. Your humble servant shall go find that secret annal. Your humble servant will give you a response tomorrow. Kong Ho thought. Chai Ling knew that Kong Ho has a very good memory. Just listen to your humble servant's words, that will be enough. Kong Ho grabbed a pot of red robe tea, drinking a mouthful from the spout. Chai Ling said nothing more. Bai Yutong looked curiously at the three-eyed wealth-inviting beast napping on the aromatic couch. Her little hand slightly poked it. The three-eyed wealth-inviting beast opened its third, glimmering eye, making Bai Yutong yelp in fright, yet it was actually her star beast, the essence spirit rat, Bai Bai, that hid in fear. Meow purr. The three-eyed wealth-inviting beast licked Bai Yutong's finger, which made the little lowly's eyes squint in happiness. As expected of noblewoman Chai, to raise such a strange cat. It has 3 eyes, I've never heard of this. That is Chai Ling's star beast, the three-eyed wealth-inviting beast. Su Xing explained. This is the noble star's star beast? The girls all had surprised expressions. This star beast honestly is very suitable for the noble star who lives like a princess. Zhang Feiyu twitched her lips. Boatman, you will suffer if this palace's Xinger is angered. Hearing a gentle as jade voice, Chai Ling gracefully bloomed her fan. A beautiful palace dress outlined her very sumptuous curves. On her head was a honeyflower crystal hairpin and a pearl frontlet. Her waist had a light blue tasseled sash. She appeared exquisite, and the bangs in front of her forehead drifted. Her smile was pretty, just like an immortal. I've never fought with the star beast of the noble star. Zhang Feiyu could not help saying. Feiyu. Shi shook her head. Seeing Chai Ling approached, Bai Yutong hid behind Su Xing, somewhat shy. Chai Ling smiled and beckoned with her hands. The three-eyed wealth-inviting beast jumped into the queen's bosom, enjoying the soft nephrite. How are things? Su Xing asked her. It will take some time. This palace shall respond to you tomorrow. Chai Ling said, Milady, the banquet has already been prepared. Jinji and Yuye respectfully said, Everyone please. The group could not decline and followed the maids into the main hall. Chai Ling sat in the very back, side by side with Su Xing. Her fragrance attacked him, seeping into his heart. Su Xing, this palace wishes to say something to you. Then speak. Su Xing looked at her. You have not forgotten about the together to hell? Right. Su Xing's expression that apparently only just remembered this made Chai Ling's stomach churn. You are known as Liangshan Continent's #1 wealthy woman. Could it be you don't have a solution? Su Xing was indifferent. The Bright Moon Longevity Palace has the Tears of Vega. You must accompany this palace to leave for it together. This is no problem. Su Xing had already heard of the legendary palace, and he always wanted to see the real thing. Chai Ling gently pet the three-eyed wealth-inviting beast in her bosom, saying with a seemingly deeper meaning, "Xing, do you like this palace?" Su Xing was taken aback. Chai Ling's question was somewhat direct. Chai Ling lowered her eyes. Her hair flowed next to her ears, the scene of a beauty in love. "Could I have done the together to hell with you if I didn't?" Su Xing replied. Chai Ling's lips curled slightly. She wore a touching smile. The noble star raised her head and sighed. "What are you saying? This palace is asking the star beast." Su Xing actually forgot Chai Ling's star beast was also named Xinga. With her appearance just now, Su Xing honestly thought there was nothing to it. "Did you do that on purpose?" Chai Ling was beautiful and charming. "Since you like it, this palace shall also address you as Xinga from now on." As he expected, it was on purpose. The night was cool as water, the moon bright as a mirror. Su Xing flipped to and fro, unable to fall asleep. Because little Huang used 4 dark techniques, she consumed too much energy and was currently fast asleep in the star nest, resting. Hunyangzi also apparently began to loathe the star nest, unwilling to enter. Chai Ling arranged another room for her, and the cute Bai Yutong was tricked into the noble star's room by the three-eyed wealth-inviting beast. It was very rare, but on this night, there was only Su Xing by himself. He wondered how Yingmei, Xinjie, Xiyo, Little E, Suan, and Yuaner were on the outside right now. They ought to be doing fine, right? There was no activity in the star nest. Su Xing tossed about repeatedly, their faces always in his mind. 1 month was not long, but when things grew quiet, a very long time seemed to have passed. Counting the days, Maiden Mountain's trial should more or less be about to begin, and he did not know what trial it was. However, judging by Chao Gai's not at all relaxed expression, rather than say it was a trial, it was better to say it was a throttling. How could Su Xing sleep in peace? His thoughts rapidly spun, and then he left the room. Outside the palace hall was a valley. Not only was the noble star able to earn money, she could even enjoy it. With verdant hills and limpid waters, this was the work of heaven. Far away, there was even white mist drifting into the sky. What lay before Su Xing was a lot. Besides refining the Earth Book's projection, the meditative mind lotus seed and other Buddhist powers, the black turtle seal he obtained from the Black Turtle Temple and the 12 Earth Element flying swords had become new assignments. However, forging the 12 flying swords required several days' time. Su Xing set it aside for the time being. First of all, he was to refine the black turtle seal. He found a quiet and secluded place. Su Xing released the black turtle seal. This 4-sided great seal was finely crafted, with 4 embossed characters on the underside, Black Turtle Guarding Seas. Prehistoric lost treasures and immemorial lost treasures were about the same, but what was forged would be a prehistoric spirit treasure. For things like this black turtle seal that had been pressed under the Black Turtle Temple for who knows how many centuries, its spiritual power was overflowing. Before even refining it, he could sense it was extraordinary. Su Xing originally could have sought Tang Lianxin's help to refine it. However, the girl had been constantly laboring for half a year, day in and day out without stopping. She did not close her eyes at all refining the Zhen Wu divine iron. Su Xing naturally could not trouble her any further. Moreover, in any case, he was of the 4 Styles school, the tool refinement great sect, Ju Yueka's genius disciple. This is perfect to test that 4 Styles forging. Su Xing tenderly smiled when he recalled Tang Lianxin's painstaking research. He had proficiency with the Heavenly Water Heart Fire, the Earth Book, the Fire Spirit Magic Saraira, the Wind Spirit Magic Saraira, and the Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder. Now was only refining a lost treasure into a spirit treasure, which was not difficult. Doing as he said, Su Xing's divine intent was imbued into the black turtle seal. Suddenly, his complexion concentrated. He sighed and pointed. The mouth of the black turtle on the seal held a weak, mung bean-sized blue flame. It honestly was not visible unless one was attentive. This is earthly in cold fire? Su Xing knew that things that were closer to sun essence belonged to heavenly fire and were categorized as extreme yang, and the deepest darkness was characterized as extreme yin. The two types of yin and yang flames were encountered, not sought. However, cultivating them were astonishingly famous abilities, like the extreme yang's golden crow's spirit flame, which he once witnessed in the vermilion bird territory. However, yin fire was extremely rare. Books wrote about some earth primordial cold flame, 2, 9 nether icely, 3, however, they were all legends. Now, it was actually very rare to hear of someone refining it. Deep inquiries to find this kind of yin fire were too few. One could well imagine how difficult the flames under the abyss were. Su Xing thought. The Great Good Fortune Pill's frost flame. It appeared that this flame induced the Great Good Fortune Pill. Perfect. I have the heavenly water heart flame that can refine it. Su Xing chuckled. One more method was one more choice. He had never been stingy. Striking a hand seal, that feeble blue fire hovered in the air. That blue fire was extremely cold but weak. Once released, a range of 100 meters froze over. Su Xing felt cold, afraid that after he finished refining it, the mountain river would become an ice river. Su Xing was even more excited. He slightly opened his mouth, and that frost flame flew into his mouth. Entering his body, Su Xing instantly only felt his whole body's organs, limbs, and meridians all freeze. His entire shivered, and cold air leaked out of him. Su Xing immediately activated the heavenly water heart fire to envelope the blue frost. He circulated the star energy in his body, and only then did that extremely cold feeling gradually disappear. So powerful. He nearly was done for. Su Xing took a deep breath, activating the heart-like mirror. He began to slowly refine that ice and frost into his body. Thus, a strange scene appeared. Su Xing quietly sat on a rock. The surrounding river turned to ice, the vegetation froze. The deathly stillness of a world of ice and snow had appeared. A northern wind howled, and the person himself was completely covered in frost. He was covered in a thick layer, like an ice sculpture, but in this icy chill, Su Xing's surroundings manifested a golden lotus. The golden lotus flower bloomed, and upon touching the ice, it withered yet bloomed again and again. This cycle multiplied, growing without end, unending. On the palace, a blue and white-clothed, lustrous young girl was currently looking at Su Xing in the distance, her eyes full of complex feelings. Hu Sanyang's eyes were occasionally sorrowful, occasionally bitter, occasionally joyous. Every sort of feeling flashed by non-stop. Has something embarrassing been done to this little sister by that man? Do you need to make a confession? A demon-like voice carrying a very magnetic force rang out. 10 feet of blue Hunyangzi was startled. Her heart was stunned, and turning her head to look, she spotted a considerably tall woman standing in front of her. She was wrapped in black skin-tight clothing, stretched taut along her shapely curves. That figure truly was quite good, and even Hunyangzi admired the sight. However, Hunyangzi showed surprise. She unexpectedly was totally oblivious as to when the woman had walked near her, as if she was already waiting at this place. This kind of feeling genuinely was too terrifying. If she wanted to kill her, was that not an end in one strike? Has your humble servant guessed correctly? The woman smiled. She again returned her gaze to the Su Xing cultivating in the courtyard. This man truly is hardworking. And only a hardworking man is worth a woman's dearest love. Little sister had best tell him directly. Misunderstandings like this are only in those melodramatic third-rate novel plots. What is happening? Hunyangzi's tongue went numb. A feeling of dread emerged all over her body. She felt her whole body, her hands and feet, seemed to have been locked down by invisible shackles. She unexpectedly was unable to budge. The woman appeared carefree, calm, and friendly, but her imposing aura made Hunyangzi feel like she was facing a great enemy. This sort of pressure was stifling. Will I die? Under Hunyangzi's strong willpower, Her fingers slowly moved. Hunyangzi suddenly noticed that the woman was carrying a bundle of silk on her shoulder. A beautiful body was faintly discernible within, and as she was sizing up Su Xing, Hunyangzi was shocked to discover that the woman being carried was not just anyone. She unexpectedly was the master of the Great Circle Castle, noble star Little Whirlwind Chai Ling. Just who is she? Danger. Gold and blue light flashed across her spotlessly white palms. The golden wind and morning dew double sabers appeared. Your humble servant has some things to do. Your humble servant asks that little sister take a nap. The woman smiled and suddenly drew near. Hey! A shout broke free of Hunyangzi's throat. Like a flying magpie, she danced, and her saber light was imposing. Dark technique, flying star magpie dance. The woman's figure dispersed, like a disappearing phantom. Hunyangzi's eyes widened. She stooped, and her opponent's punch gently exploded against her belly. Just with such a light punch, Hunyangzi nevertheless felt might more powerful than Mount Tai. Her consciousness rapidly receded. Dear husband, run away, quickly, Hunyangzi toppled over. Before she lost consciousness, warmth flashed past the woman's gaze. Su Xing refined the scene fire, his speed extremely quick. If it was any other cultivator, just refining this feeble extreme cold fire would require several dozen days, even longer. Su Xing might as well use every sort of method to accelerate his progress. A long while afterwards, the ice-sealing Su Xing's body slowly disappeared and melted. That feeble Yin flame was nearly completely absorbed. Su Xing snapped. A frost-like flame flew out. This flame was slightly larger than a soybean, its frost light fluttering. An icy wind rose, seemingly like a thin sheet of ice. What's a good name to give it? Su Xing muttered. A name that Liangshan did not have. Abilities cultivated by oneself often were named by oneself. That tiny bit of flame gently sparked, and the entire sky immediately froze over. Su Xing saw that because of a mere speck of ice flame, the surrounding several hundred meters were blown by northern winds and snow. He could not help but reminisce somewhat. He remembered a time on Earth when he saw a book. This book had a female main character named Setsuna Yuki. Su Xing was rather fond of this name, but it was a pity that author was abnormal. She was obviously the female lead from start to finish, yet she never showed her face. Only at the end did he see her true identity. Truly despicable. Such a beautiful name unexpectedly was only an extra. This truly was a waste of a gift. Do you even understand the rules to novels? Su Xing thought for a while and finally decided on the name. Setsuna Yuki. Instant frost flame. 5. Just as Su Xing thought this, a distinct yell suddenly came through the night. Hunyangzi's urgent voice immediately interrupted Su Xing's thoughts. He raised his head and looked towards the palace, just happening to catch sight of Hunyangzi and a woman. That woman seemed to easily slip by, and Hunyangzi then collapsed. Su Xing's face drained of color, reaching there within a few breaths using an escape technique. The woman clad in skin-tight black clothing saw Su Xing arrive. She was neither fast nor slow, not caring in the slightest that she was discovered. She merely smiled, turning around and leaving. Wife. Su Xing tested Hunyangzi's breathing. Fortunately, she was only unconscious, with no big obstructions. His hand pressed Hunyangzi's forehead. Su Xing's expression suddenly concentrated. The wind rose. Chai Ling. Su Xing returned to his senses. The moonlight flashed by, and Su Xing spotted the Chai Ling being carried on the woman's shoulder. How could Su Xing sit by and watch? Without the slightest hesitation, he used the chaotic tail escape. Blood-colored light flashed. The woman in nocturnal clothes slowly tread with footsteps light as a feather. She cast a glance at him. A blood-red light flashed in her eyes. Su Xing had astonishingly arrived right in front of her. Such swift speed. The woman's heart thumped. Her steps gracefully floated backwards, surprisingly evading Su Xing's punch that was quick as thunder. Huh! Su Xing was surprised. His chaotic tail escape was unexpectedly avoided. Was this woman's reaction strength a monster's? Could she be a star general? The thought flashed through his head. Su Xing endured the painful spasms of the chaotic tail escape, grimacing as he blocked in front of the woman. "Put her down. Your humble servant is but a notorious bandit, specialized with indulging in secret affairs with women. Is this Queen Little Whirlwind very sexy?" The woman smiled, shrugging her shoulder. Chai Ling's supple but rippled with waves. Her silk robes fluttered, exposing her underwear that was thin as a cicada's wing, even forming a T-shape. 6. Su Xing nearly sprayed blood. This Chai Ling honestly was secretly bold, to unexpectedly wear a thong underneath. "Your body is very honest. Your humble servant has quite a good feeling about you. How about we indulge in her together?" The woman invited. "Courting death." Su Xing's palm attacked. "Then you indeed are courting death." His counterpart's smile instantly became sinister. There was no need for any more words. Su Xing's legs suddenly exerted strength. The frozen ground instantly erupted. A powerful force made the sheet of ice shatter, sending ice shards flying. In the icy mist filling the sky, Su Xing's silhouette was just like a sharp sword tearing space apart. At the same time, 24 flying swords whistled out, carving twisting bolts of gold and green lights. Su Xing instantly went full force. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of the woman. His body leaned, and he struck full power with a fist brimming with the monster strength innate skill of Lu Shaking. On his fist was a whirling golden lotus. It appeared surprisingly like a twisting tornado, the scream of ripping air about to tear eardrums. "Meditative mind lotus flower? You cannot be this surprising," the woman in the night gently chuckled. She grunted, and her body floated. In an instant, she unexpectedly retreated several zhang, with a pace like when Su Xing used the chaotic tail escape. He completely was unable to see how his opponent moved. This footwork was somewhat profound. Su Xing's fist merely struck the air futilely. An embarrassing punch. "You have declined your humble servant's good intentions. Then properly enjoy being tormented to the end." The monster from who knows where announced. She merely hid, and then she blended into the night afterwards. Her presence had completely vanished. Su Xing's divine intent released in search of her, but he was unable to detect even the slightest breath. He had thoroughly lost all traces of the opponent. She couldn't be this far beyond reason? Su Xing wrinkled his brow. He had innate skills that could contend against star generals, but this was the first time he had encountered this kind of situation. Was this woman an assassin? A soft laugh was in the wind. Something whistled over. Laughing during a sneak attack really is a fatal mistake. Su Xing pointed, and his flying swords plunged. The masked woman once again disappeared. Such swift speed, and to still have leeway in her speed even while carrying Chai Ling. What was going on? Where did this cheat pop out from? He brainstormed. Su Xing could not be distracted. "Hey." Again he made a horizontal sweep in passing. The masked woman was just like a phantom. Although Su Xing once again determined her direction, his opponent's speed already was incapable of being described with words. Su Xing activated light smoke dance steps, his flying swords slashed about with all their might. "Battle start." The masked woman seemingly ordered. Just like a dedicated teacher, she suddenly appeared right under Su Xing's ribs. One punch attacked, the attack speed far from being as fast as her movements. He wondered what she cultivated, for Su Xing was caught up in her battle rhythm. He could not help but hit back, and his speed inadvertently accelerated somewhat. The pair's extreme speed unfolded into a war. The pair's silhouettes were practically obscured during combat. Only an indistinct shadow flitted about in the air. Continuous booms endlessly exploded in the air. At random times, entangled shadows and wind would suddenly appear visible. A strange picture of death was drawn out of the dark night by a sort of inexplicable energy. The flying swords seemed to lose their usefulness. "Could your speed be any slower?" A considerably bored voice, a pain in the ass evaluation for Su Xing. The masked woman used only one hand to catch Su Xing's attack. "Could you be a bit faster?" Su Xing smiled, tapping his thumb with his ring finger. A bean-sized frost fire jumped out, gently snapping and falling on the masked woman's body. Instant frost fire. The masked woman clearly did not anticipate this. One arm was immediately frozen into frost. This instant snow was formidable as expected, for just this bit to have such an effect. Su Xing did not hesitate. Pointing, the 24 flying swords suddenly descended. Are you trying to kill her? How could he have anticipated that the masked woman would surprisingly use Chai Ling as a shield? Damn it. Su Xing stopped to avoid friendly fire, switching to close combat. His hand flipped out the 1,000-year divine sword, and his left hand gripped purple thunder. What would be perfect was for the sword to completely strike the target. Yet it was an afterimage that broke. The masked woman's sneer was colder than that frost fire. Her palm chop descended, just like a crescent moon in the gloomy sky. Too fast. Su Xing had no choice but to use the chaotic tail escape, but in that instant after he shifted, basically in that practically infinitesimal second of pain, the masked woman was eerily already standing right beside him. That kind of slender build was just like an apparition, as if she had already been waiting for him. This kind of escape technique is best used sparingly because it is completely useless. Accompanying this insulting evaluation was also this masked woman's punch that was light as a feather. This palm clearly was very gentle, a palm technique that was gentle to the point its earth-shattering and oppressive approach was apparently imperceptible, but the moment the strike landed on Su Xing, the star energy concentrated in his whole body seemed to crumble like paper shreds. Her palm apparently imprinted on his body, the light as a feather touch instantly turning into the 5 sacred mountains. The powerful force poured like a wild river. This sort of feeling was as if he had been smashed by the green lotus peak. So painful. Su Xing's body astonishingly displayed a deep palm-shaped hole. A large amount of blood sprayed freely from that hole. A bright mist of red instantly stained the white snow crimson. An acute pain nearly made Su Xing fall unconscious. Your humble servant asks you again, do you have any regrets? The masked woman faintly smiled. Su Xing did not answer. A swift and severe attack surpassed all replies. This kind of pain counted as nothing to Su Xing. The pain of cultivating the chaotic tail escape was more severe than this. Oh! The masked woman did not anticipate that Su Xing would recover so quickly. According to her calculations, Su Xing would have required at least 5 or 6 seconds in order to break free of the pain in his body. She adjusted her attack rhythm again. You truly are an odd man. The masked woman's voice was cold but really had slight doubt. In an instant, 2 lights of gold and green exploded in the air. 2 several long giant green swords appeared, thoroughly chilling. Su Xing's eyes flashed an odd glint. He silently opened his mouth, read an incantation, separately chanting to each of the 2 giant swords. Upon touching the green chi, the giant swords glowed magnificently. They dropped one after another amid the soft chanting. They aggressively slashed towards the masked woman. If he was just controlling 2 swords, Su Xing had the confidence he would not hurt Chai Ling. Bang bang. 2 enormous noises. What made Su Xing surprised was that the masked woman caught each sword with one hand. A white killing intent poured out. Green rays and white light intermingled, but the 2 swords could barely praise down the white light by a few inches before they were completely and bluntly repelled. They again dispersed in midair. The flying swords were completely useless. Do you even actually want this woman? The masked woman asked. Su Xing was spontaneously powerless. Even when he confronted Emperor Liang, he had never had this sort of feeling. If this woman was a star general, that was also abnormally strong. Even Lu Xiao was not necessarily her opponent. If she was not a star general, then this strayed too far from logic. Put her down. Su Xing's wrist flipped, and then he pursued. If you want her, then allow your humble servant see just how much you want her. A very baffling and unconventional provocation. The masked woman's figure vanished. An enormous sense of danger made Su Xing's limbs ice-cold, more ice-cold than the winter in his surroundings. He could not even think of taking action. His palm swiped the air, and a cold intent brushed past Su Xing's skin. The masked woman's phantom appeared next to him, her white hand gracefully clapping onto Su Xing's shoulder. And this was still under the condition she was carrying a woman. What sort of speed was this? This was cheating. Su Xing's heart groaned. A wind that had stopped at some unknown time suddenly was like a devil that had been let out of its cage, roaring with bared fangs. Pain, an even deeper pain. Like 1,000 blades dragging 10,000 times across his skin, they lacerated him into dripping blood. Suddenly, bloodlight erupted, and his shirt became shreds that gracefully filled the night sky. Accompanying the shreds were countless rays of bloodlight. Just where did this woman come from? Could this have been sent by Maiden Mountain like it? Are you Maiden Mountains? Su Xing's consciousness was rapidly fading away. Yes, yet also no. She replied. What, do you wish to give up? This is good as well. Your humble servant shall take her away then. Bastard. Su Xing charged at her. A very good expression, as expected of Lin Chang's star master. The masked woman slightly nodded. Heaven knew where that love in her eyes came from. Su Xing only thought of knocking her down. He did not hesitate to use his all to defeat her, to take Chai Ling back. His body leaned back and immediately leaned against a soft bosom. Snow-white hands hugged him from behind, and black hair gracefully flowed over. The masked woman already embraced him from behind, as if she was a mother lovingly protecting her child. Her voice was bewitching and alluring. You must be even stronger. Su Xing grit his teeth and spat out a few words. Pervert, don't get close to me. His whole body had not yet healed from his painful wounds, yet he attacked. Her silhouette vanished. By the time the masked woman reappeared, she was already a distance of 100 meters away from Su Xing monster. An absolute monster. Their battle time was not long, but Su Xing nevertheless was exhausted. Originally, he had just been refining the instant frost flame. Now, he had an encounter with a boss-level woman that popped out of who knows where. Could it be she was a warrior that had been raised in secret at the Great Circle Castle? After all, the Great Circle Castle was extremely tight. To be able to knock Chai Ling out and even leap about with her won the shoulder, this required lots of strength, but it made no sense that Chai Ling's own people would backstab her. Furthermore, Little Whirlwind was very shamelessly carried on her shoulder. Chai Ling's clothes had already been undone by the baleful aura, and she was left only with several very pitiful pieces. Seeing Chai Ling's jade body, Su Xing's blood surged, and his mind was unsteady. The heart-like mirror was not the least bit useful against this absolutely beautiful star maiden's allure. Once more, Su Xing launched a counterattack. Originally, he thought of using the 5 dragons lantern, the 4 symbols seal, this sort of spirit treasure, but recalling that the opponent would definitely use Chai Ling as the perfect shield, Su Xing could only dismiss this idea. He attempted to rely on his abilities that equaled a star general to take back Chai Ling. The sounds of battle in the night were endless. Su Xing formed a hand seal. The flying swords once again fathered. Heaven tearing and Langya became threads. The power of the sword chi circulated in the air, star energy increasingly condensed. The surroundings unexpectedly rolled with a tornado, converging onto the pair of swords. The 2 lights flashed, illuminating Su Xing's ice-cold and unswerving expression. A faintly visible golden dragon emerged. The next instant, Su Xing waved a hand. Immediately afterwards, an inconceivable scene occurred. Countless flying swords broke out of space, rolling into a powerful hurricane. The most fundamental rule of battle was to seize the opponent. Since he was incapable of outpacing his foe, then he would directly go large-scale. Su Xing's plan was completely correct. The masked woman's speed had been inhibited by the countless sword shadows. Immediately afterwards, the flying swords turned into a sword array, and by the time the woman noticed, she was shocked to find that Su Xing's presence had completely disappeared. How is this possible? The masked woman gasped. She looked around in front of her. Danger suddenly descended. The hidden Su Xing waited for his opportunity and moved, his killing intent completely revealed. Although the masked woman's speed was more than fast enough, she still was left with a slightly burning wound. Your hiding skill is pretty good. The masked woman smiled. Oh gee, thanks. The greatest benefit of pitting himself against the strong was that he could quickly study and learn the brilliance of his opponent's martial arts style in a difficult battle. So most of the time, rather than say Su Xing was a cultivator, it would be better to say he was a sword cultivator. He was even more fond of using close combat to solve problems. His own abilities were the most guaranteed capabilities. Although this masked woman was excessively strong, she apparently was intentionally probing Su Xing's potential. Unwittingly, Su Xing once again burst at the limit. He charged at the masked woman at high speed. His speed was extremely quick, as if he was flashing by, and a trail of afterimages was even left behind him, similar to a star general's 10,000 techniques realm. The surrounding cyclone seemed to be pushing him, letting out an intense scream. You indeed are a star master worthy of expectation. The masked woman showed a very benevolent expression. Essence blood concentrated into Su Xing's hands. As if he could step across space, he immediately slid past the short distance between the two. The heaven and earth inverted boxing gloves appeared in his hands, and his boxing technique twinkled back with 4 glittering stars. Borrowing faceless Jiao Ting's destined star weapon, Su Xing used the boxing technique he inherited from Yan Qing to its limit. His fists were like roaring dragons. Dark technique, dragon punch. The masked woman merely nodded in praise. Regarding this kind of high-speed attack, she maintained her approval, nothing more. She did not retreat or evade at all. Her footsteps powerfully stepped in, her pace very steady, not fearful of the aggressive Su Xing in front of her. Instantly, the two were already in contact. Dragon punch leaned in, directly impacting her stomach. The masked woman merely shook backwards, and then she struck back as if nothing had happened. Su Xing's movements were quick, out of the question. As far as this kind of high-speed attack was concerned, Su Xing was an expert. His arms sunk, and the second dark technique practically flew out after Dragon Punch. Su Xing's silhouette seemed to displace. The masked woman flew into the air for the first time, and her eyes showed slight surprise. Su Xing already had oddly appeared behind her. Then his wrist recoiled and instantly attacked. This was Su Xing's true goal. Dark technique. Heaven and earth inverted. The masked woman caught this punch. Su Xing abruptly leapt, activating light smoke dance steps. The leftover might of his fist numbed his opponent's nerves for half a second. Su Xing then immediately snapped his fingers afterwards. Instant frost flame exploded right then. The whole body of the masked woman immediately was completely frozen over. And at this moment, Su Xing already retreated several dozen meters, a completely naked queen hugged against his chest. The ice shell shattered. The masked woman showed surprise. Such powerful growth capabilities, such deliberate thinking. Was this the effect of Lin Chang's battle doctrine? To unexpectedly pluck Chai Ling from her hands, she even felt disbelief. Shit. Although Su Xing had taken back Chai Ling, he nevertheless still noticed that his endurance had reached its limit. He did not have even the strength to use the jade pendant. He could only carry the little whirlwind. He could barely stand, so close to falling over. This woman honestly was very strong. Su Xing had never felt so exhausted and powerless. If she were to take action again, Su Xing feared he could only rely on Chai Ling. Chai Ling, wake up, quick. Su Xing weakly called out, his hand incessantly shaking her body. The noble star was incredibly muddle-headed. Seeing her erotic appearance, Su Xing's heart was restless. It appears that you truly want her very much. However, you already are completely unable to move now. Your humble servant needs only a finger to be able to destroy you. The masked woman swaggered. Su Xing believed she could do so. So what? Your humble servant has already said you have a good feeling about you. Your humble servant shall give you another chance. Hand her over to your humble servant, and your humble servant shall impart to you a top-notch boxing technique. No star general would be your opponent. How is this condition? She let out an enticing offer. Su Xing plainly knew that the mysterious woman in front of him had this capability to do so. Just that series of exchanges let Su Xing sense that he and her were not on the same level. It could even be said that Su Xing had never encountered such a difference between him and an opponent. It sounds truly capable of making one unable to refuse. Su Xing said. You agree? The woman smiled. Why would I agree? Chai Ling and you have no relation, yes? Whatever happens to her certainly does not harm you at all. The woman continued to say. Su Xing disdained. I don't care who you are, but if you think you can make me commit to a betrayal, then stop talking. A thought flashed through Su Xing's mind. The woman in front of him clearly possessed an absolutely oppressive grace yet discussed conditions with him at her leisure. This meant that her goal was not Chai Ling at all, but him, rather? Was this Chai Ling probing him? Su Xing cast a glance out of the corner of his eye at Chai Ling's body. His heart was not too sure. If she was probing him, this Chai Ling's sacrifice was too great. Su Xing certainly did not believe that arrogant and haughty queen would make herself completely naked to benefit herself. But everything unfolding before him only had this explanation. The person sent by Chao Gai? Maiden Mountain's trial? Su Xing brainstormed, thinking past many possibilities. His thoughts were inherently meticulous, and he very quickly sensed that the events that occurred tonight were somewhat not too ordinary. But regardless that this woman only wanted to test him, there was no doubt. Thinking of this, Su Xing loosened his grip on the purple star astral treasure he had been gripping. The masked woman's eyes flashed an odd luster. Her voice suddenly chilled. Your humble servant merely feels you show promise that we would chat nicely. If you do not recognize your good fortune, your humble servant shall not be polite. Hand Chai Ling over to your humble servant. A baleful aura that was seemingly substantial seeped into Su Xing's whole body. A terrifying, imposing aura pressed towards him. Su Xing felt himself unable to budge. The tip of his tongue appeared afraid, and his heart gave rise to the pitiful idea of fleeing. Su Xing forcibly suppressed the fear in his heart and threw caution to the wind. I wouldn't give her to you, even if I die. He discreetly chanted. He grabbed onto Chai Ling's jutting breasts. Su Xing actually was not thinking of doing something indecent, but he thought that by provoking her sensitive spots, he might be able to make Chai Ling wake up. Regardless, when the Great Circle Castle's master awoke, there naturally would be a plan to deal with her. Then die. The masked woman's murderous aura erupted, and she charged. Suddenly, Gong Sun Huang emerged, pointing her pine-brand ancient sword. With the last of her strength, she activated Wind Rolls the Clouds. The masked woman clearly did not expect this. Knocking head-on into the gale, the star magic of the leisure star who was number 1 in magic energy was tyrannical. Wind Rolls the Clouds was like 10,000 sharp swords. Voila! Her night clothes became countless butterflies that floated away. Her buxom, sexy, and full figure again made Su Xing's eyeballs feast upon a sight. The woman showed her true face. Her clear pupils flowed with longing, her slender brows beautiful, and she had wonderful skin, as glossy as jade. The world seemed to pale. How could one word describe her beauty, especially that languid feeling upon her brow? She showed a lion-like dignity, making Su Xing unable to help but think of Wu Siyo. Ha! Kong Ho was caught unprepared. Her cheeks reddened, and she suddenly disappeared into the wind. Shit! The opponent's shame turned into a rage that perhaps she would kill him to silence him. The Su Xing that had returned to his senses inwardly cursed. Her fragrance filled the wind, a gust that blew gently. The woman had already disappeared. If it was not for that subtle fragrance and the shreds of clothing all over the ground, Su Xing would have thought this was an illusion. Little Huang. Su Xing immediately lost all the strength in his body and collapsed. Gong Sun Huang was silent. She had entered the star nest, exhausted, to rest. The sky was full of stars. The aroma was increasingly thick when he suddenly heard a groan. Su Xing turned his head. This Chai Ling finally woke up. Queen Little Whirlwind looked at the man pressed on top of her body, and then she saw that she was completely naked. Her eyes widened, and her face turned red. She did not say anything. Only then did Su Xing notice that his hand was still grabbing Chai Ling's erect peak. He himself was even more naked. Any way this scene was looked at, He was in very deep trouble. The current scene was too erotic, and any way he looked, this was a bit unsuitable for children. Su Xing's body had only his underpants, and squashed atop Chai Ling, the even more gratifying noble star little whirlwind Chai Ling was completely naked. That lustrous and sexy body laid upon the ice, not hidden in the slightest. Her body's details were fully visible at a glance, particularly what was being gripped tightly in Su Xing's hand the same way a dragon clutched a jewel in its claw. The soft plumpness in his palm could very clearly provoke his blood. Then, this blood gathered in his lower half, his hardness pressing against Chai Ling's slightly moist valley. Therefore, Su Xing would accomplish the mission all the males in this world wished to complete but never would. Don't scream. Chai Ling was so ashamed she wished for death, yet she wanted to speak. Having seen so many novels, Su Xing immediately guessed the next plot point would be so shrill scream or something. He unconsciously covered her lips. Chai Ling had no martial force, and being embraced like that by Su Xing, his masculine air assaulted her face as if to suffocate her. Little whirlwind Chai Ling's consciousness was muddled. Chai Ling opened her eyes wide. This originally should have been a very humiliating scene. At the very least, from Chai Ling's perspective, she definitely would kill the man that blasphemed her body, turn him to dust. The strange thing was that little whirlwind Chai Ling did not have any feeling of rejection. On the contrary, she was somewhat subtle. This sort of even more shameful thinking, Chai Ling blamed it on the effects of the together to hell. After all, this was an intertwined divine item. There always would be an unavoidable connection between them. Comforting herself like this, Chai Ling's heart was greatly relieved. However, this Su Xing honestly was loathsome. Just how much longer was that hand going to grab her? Could it be that disgusting thing below would not move away? So hot. She was clearly laying on top of ice, yet Chai Ling felt her body was hot. She struggled a bit to make Su Xing let go. First, let me explain. Su Xing decided to settle this matter first. Chai Ling slightly nodded. First of all, this isn't what it looks like. Su Xing's first sentence was cliché. On second thoughts, this seemed to be very easy to misunderstand, so he changed his phrasing. Someone kidnapped you, and she was about to do some perverted things to you. When I noticed, I rescued you. However, that woman was too strong. Our clothes are shredded. Little Whirlwind's face was red. She silently nodded, a bashful expression showing she understood. As long as you understand. Su Xing breathed a sigh of relief. Chai Ling chomped. Su Xing recoiled in pain, immediately letting go his hand. You. Chai Ling was so angry she did not know how she should curse him. Although she knew that a freak misunderstanding was possible, seeing Su Xing's innocent expression, she could not do so. This palace was squashed underneath you for so long. What should have been seen was seen, what should have been touched was touched, and what should not have been seen nor touched were more or less now the same. Still, you give this palace an innocent face. Bastard, bastard, bastard. Chai Ling punched and kicked, her embellished and completely ineffectual curses landing on Su Xing. Su Xing could understand Chai Ling's feelings. After all, this kind of coincidence was lower than buying a lottery ticket. Fortunately, although Chai Ling was venting through her arms and legs, she was not hard-hitting. Those fancy blows had a sort of coquettish flavor, smashing against Su Xing's body like a massage, particularly Chai Ling that still was wearing nothing. Those firm and upright waves on her chest rippled and jiggled out a dazzlingly stifling scene. Su Xing could only turn his head away to not look, otherwise his lower half would definitely explode. However, Su Xing already was spent. All of his energy was gathered in his dantian, making his vision turn black, nearly fainting. You are injured. Only after venting did Chai Ling notice Su Xing's wounds. A palm imprint. Seeing that palm imprint, Chai Ling immediately froze, and her face was even redder. You should believe me now. The clothes of the woman who drugged you are still there? Su Xing pointed at a pile of shreds on the ground. Chai Ling was indeterminately gloomy. Then why did this palace awaken when you grabbed this palace's breast? No matter how innocent Su Xing was, he could not say that he only did so to stimulate her, otherwise he truly would be treated as a rogue. You can't blame me. If you cannot be blamed, could it be this palace must be blamed? Chai Ling snorted. Exactly. Who allowed Chai Ling's chest to be so firm? It's honestly too firm. I was injured. I had no strength, so I just grabbed something. Otherwise, just think about it. What's the point of touching your chest when I'm completely out of strength? Su Xing indeed was exhausted somewhat. Shameless pervert, you unexpectedly dare speak of this palace in such a way. Chai Ling angrily pounded him in a fit. Suddenly she noticed Su Xing's eyes were glued to her lower half. Only then did Chai Ling notice that she was completely naked. The verdant underbrush of her valley was completely visible to the naked eye. Chai Ling's normal charm was not fake, but having been seen, Chai Ling was disinclined to maintain her facade of frailty. Have you looked long enough at this palace? Chai Ling's smile was very sour. Su Xing faked coughed and handed her a cloak, closing his eyes. Why would you do this? Chai Ling saw that Su Xing truly had no energy. Though her heart somewhat hurt, she could see this man truly wanted to protect her. Why would I save you? Su Xing said. Is it because this palace has captivated you? That is indeed very captivating. Su Xing stared pensively at Chai Ling's body. Bastard. Chai Ling punched him. I can never ignore you, can I? Su Xing felt that he could not do this. Even if someone said all the reasons under heaven, some worldly benefit, Su Xing still could not do this. Let alone not standing by and watching someone he knew die, he would not hesitate at all to save people he did not know. After all, sometimes, identity and belief engraved into his being was unable to be destroyed. Sensing that Su Xing had many stories in him, Chai Ling was silent. Su Xing suddenly struggled to get up. When Chai Ling saw this, her brows wrinkled, and she wrapped herself in the cloak. What are you doing? Wife is still up there, knocked out. Su Xing's eyes were hazy, his consciousness rapidly receding. Chai Ling stuck out her lips, surprisingly jealous of Hunyangzi. Queen Chai sensed her own vile thoughts and hastily took a deep breath. She looked at Su Xing wobble. Chai Ling could not bear it and supported him. Her lips curled and she smiled charmingly. Xing'e, you rest well. This palace shall send for Jinji and Yuye to look after your wife. Hearing her say this, Su Xing slowly lost consciousness. Xing'e, sleep well. In the end, Chai Ling showed slight evil as she looked at the Su Xing collapsed against her chest. The little whirlwind's body went limp, the cloak fluttering. She picked up Su Xing. That sort of true skinship brought a strange sensation. Chai Ling felt the place between her thighs grow moist, spilling forth a tide. How can this palace let you go like this? Chai Ling chuckled. Hey Kongho, come out then. Have you seen enough of this palace's erotic sight? Chai Ling called out in annoyance. From space out walked a seductive woman. Kongho already finished wearing a corset and a shirt, bound with a belt of jewels. What are you doing? Chai Ling was unhappy. Helping create an opportunity for you, Chai Ling. Kongho waved her hand, and a bottle of fine wine appeared. This has humiliated this palace. Chai Ling was extremely angry. Chai Ling, your humble servant saw that you were very willing? Could it be you truly do not wish to know just what sort of person the man you fancy so much actually is? Kongho drank the wine, contentedly belching. Xing'e, how is he? Chai Ling was silent. With a little girl's disposition, she waited expectantly. The person himself is fine. The man that harms star pilgrim Wu Xiao looks upon is naturally unparalleled. Kongho proudly said. Chai Ling twitched her lips. Then Kongho, just what were you prying into? Seeing this palace absolutely naked with him, are you very happy? Are you happy? Kongho asked back. Chai Ling very much wanted to feign an I am very angry expression, but recalling what Su Xing did for her, her lips could not help but curl. This is fine then. Kongho shrugged. Su Xing's martial arts are very formidable, quite brilliant. Recalling her dialogue with Su Xing at the end, Kongho smiled. How can the man that drank the together to hell with this palace be lacking? Chai Ling proudly stuck out her chest. All right, Chai Ling, this melodrama of your humble servants has helped created your chance. What do you plan to do next? Sign a contract? Your humble servant feels he will not decline. Kong Ho thought. No. Chai Ling declined without any hesitation. Although it was possible to sign a contract, Chai Ling still did not want it to be so random. Fortunately, she was noble star Little Whirlwind, the 9th Imperial Empress of Liangshan Continent's Great Circle Castle. How could she get married? A marriage contract ceremony required pomp and circumstance. She needed to move Liangshan in order for it to work. Kong Ho thought she was looking at a lunatic. Your humble servant has a way. Say you want to get married, make your Xinger vie for your hand. And you definitely would stir up Liangshan. As for who you marry, Emperor Liang is a perfect choice. And then his 10-star generals will swoop in towards the great Liang dynasty. To emotionally give your heart to him before thousands of staring eyes. Reaching that contract, not only will Liangshan continent be shaken, Maiden Mountain will also have to raise a mad current. Chai Ling said, Kong Ho, how contrived was the novel you read? Is this palace doing this not half-hearted? How could this palace do such a thing? Kong Ho's expression said that it was fine as long as she knew. Painstakingly pursuing a goal will only produce the opposite result. However, after experiencing this, Su Xing perhaps will no longer be able to forget about you, even if he wanted to, Chai Ling. The woman's words were considerably mocking. Her eyes stared at those elegant curves, which were what her words referred to. Kong Ho also seems to have been seen. Chai Ling shot back sarcastically. Compared to your figure, where is little sister comparable to elder sister's exquisite curves? Even this palace wants to squeeze you a bit. Kong Ho pursed her lips and smiled. She merely drank wine and did not retort. Chai Ling was uninterested. Find a way yourself. Kong Ho said. Her figure vanished like smoke. Disrespecting this palace like this, how should this palace punish you? Chai Ling's gaze returned to Su Xing. Queen Chai licked her lips. She was somewhat hoarse. Little Whirlwind moved closer, her fragrance attacking his nostrils, slightly quivering. This palace really wants to kiss him. But this kiss would result in a completely chaotic change to her entire world from this moment forth. This was no more than an issue of lips, yet this was like a heavenly moat. In the end, Chai Ling still passionately kissed him, ruthlessly kissed him. This made Chai Ling's cheeks pink, her whole body powerless and limp. However, she still could not overcome her mental defenses. Forget it, let nature run its course. Treat this kiss as compensation for blaspheming this palace. What a favor to you. Although she knew Su Xing could not hear her, Chai Ling still said so, minding herself. Next day, Su Xing woke up. He saw Hunyangzi was currently anxiously standing watch at his side. You're all right? Su Xing asked. Hunyangzi nodded. Dear husband, she. I don't know who she was. She was probably sent by Maiden Mountain. Su Xing guessed. Only this was able to explain why that woman was so abnormally powerful. However, recalling last night, the battle with her was like a lecture. She did not make things difficult for him at all. Could it be said that Maiden Mountain's trial was to make him stronger? Was the situation so good? Su Xing was very skeptical. Recalling that night, Su Xing could not help but remember the noble star Little Whirlwind Chai Ling. That nephrite warmth was too wonderful for words, appearing more unreal than a dream. Su Xing noticed that his body had recovered. He left the room together with Hunyangzi. Arriving at the main hall, Chai Ling had already finished arranging a sumptuous and delicious feast. Su Xing looked around, for that truly was extravagant. The drinks were wonderfully bright, and the food was extremely luxurious. Practically every single thing was worth 10 million liang of gold. To a cultivator, this was a great fill. Chai Ling, you certainly are truly generous. Su Xing directly sat down. Chai Ling's hand held the golden thread feather fan, her eyes charming, alluring. She watched the excitement of Su Xing's body. This truly was a unique woman. Seeing Su Xing's praise, the corner of Chai Ling's lips hung a smile. Her chest slightly puffed out, flaunting as if to make Su Xing recall last night's dreamland. Su Xing nearly spat out his drink. All of the girls only felt that Su Xing and Chai Ling were somewhat strange. However, how could they have guessed that just one night's time nevertheless changed their lifetime encounter? While gorging themselves, Zhang Feiyu urgently asked, "Chai Ling, have you clearly investigated the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone?" "Clearly investigated." Saying this, Chai Ling wrinkled her brow. "What?" Su Xing recovered his sternness. The 9 Nether Devil Star Stone is an item that comes from Star World. Legend says it can be used as material to forge into star weapons. Each killed star maiden will become a devil star. You ought to know how many restrictions there are to upgrading star weapons. However, the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone completely overturns this logic. It uses the number of star maiden starfalls to upgrade. In other words, the more it kills, the stronger it becomes, but using the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone has a flaw. The user will, someday, because she is incapable of bearing the Devil Star's resentment, in the end become a walking corpse. Chai Ling had a very reviled expression. This contents were told to her by Kongho. She long already knew about the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone. However, for the sake of giving Chai Ling an opportunity, she left them for a night. What a pity that Chai Ling currently was still muddle-headed, recalling that she had been betrayed. However, let alone that the noble star little whirlwind Chai Ling placed outside of the star duels felt this was so loathsome, the others also showed disgusted expressions after listening to the abilities of the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone. No one could have expected there would surprisingly be such a hair-raising way to upgrade star weapons. Of course, what made Zhang Feiyu disgusted was that the renowned brave star Great Blade Guan Sheng surprisingly would use this kind of underhanded trick. Her unscrupulousness was rather unavoidable. After all, they were all sisters. Perhaps Guan Sheng is not completely aware. Chai Ling spoke up for Guan Ying. Her words were logical. The 9 Nether Devil Star Stone had never appeared before in Liangshan. This had even been found only after flipping through countless records within the Great Circle Castle. The records were very unremarkable. It was unknown whether they felt the 9 Nether Devil Star Stone was useless or this method was too vile that made people deliberately not promote it, so as to avoid star maidens stepping onto the path of evil with no return. Star maidens actually had other means outside of the most common materials when upgrading their star weapons, yet the other supplements that they could forge into the star weapons were few. However, each material that could be forged in was very effective to a star general, regardless. Whether it was the Wind Concealment Divine Stone or some other material, Liangshan Continent's 1,000 years of star duels practically did not display supplements that could make a star maiden enter the records of evil. It was not odd for Guan Ying to forge her star weapon like this then. In fact, Guan Ying is also a pitiful one. Chai Ling slightly sighed, somewhat depressed. When the star duels began, she and Guan Ying once met. At that time, Guan Ying had yet to sign a contract. The Great Blade Guan Sheng of that time bore the pressure of 9 generations of star duels without victory. After all, she was the chief of the 5 tigers, peerless in martial arts. Furthermore, she had a star master in each generation, but even so, she never was fortunate. In any case, if it was not being exploited for her loyalty and then being betrayed, then it was using some other methods to lay a snare of righteousness. In one generation, even Guan Sheng and her star master decided to break free of fate and stake everything for the purple star grade outlaw Liangshan Jade Pendant, an attempt to use this action to change fate. The result, she unexpectedly star fell inside the void Liangshan, turning into the laughingstock for a millennium. This reputation was barely second to the incompetent chief of the 100 Stars, Song Jiang. This palace truly should not have informed her about the situation of the Black Turtle territory. Chai Ling was sorrowful. Everyone was silent after listening. Hunyangzi bit her lips. She has only herself to blame. Nyangzi will never sympathize with her. Chai Ling smiled, putting away her hurt mood, again turning charming and beautiful. What is the state of my little sister? Zhang Feiyu nervously asked. Very simple. Having been cut by the Devil Star, she will die, inevitably and undoubtedly. Although your little sister's situation is not a starfall for the time being, the Devil Star's power has already infiltrated. After a certain amount of time passes, your little sister will naturally starfall, so a contract is useless. Chai Ling shook her head. What? Everyone changed. There should be a solution, right? Su Xing was grim. This palace has also investigated this clearly. There is a way. Which is? Obtain soul-nurturing wood, mind-setting grass, and the Devil Star. Then, you can dispel this kind of status. Soul-nurturing wood was Liangshan's rarely seen divine wood. As the name implied, it was specially used for nurturing souls. Thus, once the soul-nurturing wood was picked, there was a certain amount of time to place it into one's soul. Therefore, Liangshan continent basically could not sell it. Chai Ling had no solutions. As for the mind-setting grass, that was a sort of oddity. It grew in the 10,000 li 9 nether deep sea, but because the efficacy was not obvious at all, very few people used it. Similarly, it was not gathered. To sum it up, some days have already passed since Zhang Yuqi has been cut. This palace advises that you best quickly find the soul-nurturing wood and mind-setting grass. Chai Ling was not joking. Jinji and Yuye presented 2 maps. They highlighted several locations. These are locations this palace has heard that soul-nurturing wood and mind-setting grass can be found. You can split up and search. Chai Ling said, Thanks, Chai Ling. Su Xing thanked her. Chai Ling's arrangements were already very thorough. Even Zhang Yufei took back her previously poor preconception about this elder sister that was placed outside of the star duels. Do you truly wish to thank this palace? Xinge. Chai Ling's tone was smooth, that Xinge addressed seriously enrapturing. Of course. Chai Ling helped them greatly this time. They never expected the 9 nether devil star stone would be so formidable. Then Xinge can call this palace, Linger, as thanks. This palace will particularly give favor. Xiu. Hunyangzi. Chai Ling, if you aren't offended, I won't have a problem. Linger, Su Xing called. Chai Ling wrinkled her brow and shook her head. It sounds oddly disgusting. You had better address this palace with her name. Su Xing, right Chai Ling, just what is the Devil Star you speak of? Xiu asked. The Devil Star, Hu. This palace shall inform you after you bring back the soul-nurturing wood and mind-setting grass. If not, perhaps you would be very unenthusiastic about achieving this. Chai Ling stroked the kitty in her bosom, softly saying, Xinge, is that not so? Meow. The three-eyed wealth-inviting beast rubbed itself against Chai Ling's chest. Xinge truly is a little womanizer. Chai Ling smiled. Su Xing perspired. Dust filled the space, cramming into every corner. A giant stone golem howled as it was smashed into pieces. In the ancient, winding corridor, 2 girls appeared. One held an Arctic star spear, cold and heroic, as if every description for coldness and dignity obtained the most perfect interpretation on her body. The other girl was refined as a poem. On her back was a longbow, and her hand held a short spear, astute and experienced. She similarly was full of a haughtiness too high to reach. These 2 girls were not just anyone, they were Lin Yingmei and Hua Wanyue. Having experienced so many days, the double star forbid dance finally broke to its final layer. However, this double star forbid dance was truly formidable. Every sort of enormous statue, puppets, and a few among those golems even neared the level of Supervoid stage. Several of the giants crumbled, showing the mechanism gem within. When Lin Yingmei saw this, the wind rose, and she took those gems into her hand. Hua Wanyue was very bewildered by Lin Yingmei's actions. Lin Yingmei naturally would not explain that she did this for the sake of giving them to thief Star Shiyuan to refine for her puppets. Are we at the end? Lin Yingmei asked. We ought to be. Hua Wanyue nodded. Ought to? If I am not wrong. The pair walked a certain distance and finally came to the final hall. An elevated platform was placed over there. The entire hall was very spacious. Other than a giant golem guard, there were no other existences. 3 arrows floated upon the platform. Those arrows were extremely beautiful in appearance, twinkling like stars, a thoroughly azure jasper. The platform had a forbid dance array. Even from a very far distance, Lin Yingmei could sense a sort of pressure. Those are, Lin Yingmei's eyebrows rose. Her hand tightly gripped her spear. Those are star-piercing arrows. Hua Wanyue's answer did not hide anything. As far as her collaboration with the Panther Head for so many days was concerned, Hua Wanyue had no need to hide anything. Star-piercing arrow. Lin Yingmei was astonished. She had once heard of this arrow. They were extremely powerful arrows for facing against star generals. A previous generation of star duels once had a bow and arrow using earthly star sister that obtained the star-piercing arrow and was successful in every endeavor in the later stages. Once she killed a heavenly star, she ascended Maiden Mountain. The 6th generation star duel's prominence star ugly prince consort Xianzan, who obtained the star-piercing arrow by chance. Wanyue Sr. died to this arrow. Hua Wanyue calmly answered. This star-piercing arrow could be said to be drenched in the hero star's blood. Lin Yingmei was pensive. Many thanks for accompanying me. Hua Wanyue raised her hand, giving some leftover star weapon upgrade materials to Lin Yingmei. What are you doing? Lin Yingmei said. You have signed a contract. Wanyue, who has obtained the star-piercing arrow, may possibly be an obstacle to you and your master's ascent. Wanyue will not force you to help me obtain the arrow. Hua Wanyue said. It appeared that to finally obtain this arrow perhaps would be extremely difficult. Thanks. Hua Wanyue took a deep breath. Then you had best not go through with this. Lin Yingmei's lips curled as she stepped into the hall. Little Li Guang Hua Wanyue felt surprised. Since your servant has promised, your servant naturally will fulfill her vow and walk with you to the end. How can your servant shrink back at the final juncture? Lin Yingmei disdainfully smiled. In the eyes if majestic star panther head, the star-piercing arrow or whatever could be treated as non-existent. There is no need to worry. Even if we become enemies someday, Yingmei also very much wants to battle with the peak Wanyue. Lin Yingmei calmly said. Her words had not the slightest cowardice. This was obvious. A top-notch martial general's dignity often was more excited with greater danger, so without touching on benefits, Jade Qilin would joke together with Su Xing, would make fun of Xiao. Regardless of who the enemy was, a true star duel would occur after the 3 heavenly books. All star generals would be in a regretless determination of victory, satisfied with life or death. So the strength star Jade Qilin that was number 1 in martial force that relied on this would forever be incapable of scaling the peak, but she forever would never have anyone dare mock her. This was the battle style of Maiden Mountain's top-notch martial generals. Then Wanyue owes you a favor. Hua Wanyue nodded. She knew there was no need for talk between the two of them. The two of them knowingly smiled, appearing endlessly taciturn. Hua Wanyue wanted to say something, but then she hesitated. Her heart inwardly regretted why Lin Yingmei would sign a contract. Otherwise, Hua Wanyue truly would have wished to cooperate with the Panther Head. She wondered just what sort of person could captivate Lin Yingmei. Thinking of this, the pair walked into the main hall. With a boom, the sounds of countless mechanisms in the wide hall were heard, as if old-fashioned gears were grinding against each other. The massive puppet machine awakened, a tremendous giant. Hua Wanyue pulled back her bow and fired an arrow. She was astonished to see the effect of her bow and arrow so clearly. This kind of stone golem was manufactured from a rare essence iron. The creators probably knew that those who would come to this double-star forbid dance would be bow users. The final hall's guardian golem had very powerful resistance to bow and arrows. Leave this place to your servant. Lin Yingmei said in a low voice. Wanyue thanks you. Hua Wanyue did not want to waste time. They had already squandered a lot of time in the Double Stars Forbid Dance, and once the Double Stars Forbid Dance was opened, other Star Masters perhaps would be drawn over at this time. For the sake of avoiding side issues, Hua Wanyue went straight for the star-piercing arrows on the platform. Along the way, countless puppets awoke. Lin Yingmei's spear twinkled with light. The spear tip concentrated an ice-cold killing intent, releasing a cry. Her starry eyes let out a slightly cold light. The girl's lips curled, full of interest towards this colossal puppet. You are perfect material to give to Shi Yuan. Her figure flashed. Lin Wangmai jumped high, launching her attack. Her spear swept a cold light, directly running through the giant golem. The killing intent exploded upon the giant golem's body, leaving a dent, but immediately, these dents surprisingly were inconceivably self-repaired. Is it made from profound spirit jade? Lin Yingmei immediately recognized the ample assets of this giant golem. Profound spirit jade was a kind of very dreamy material. The crystal itself absorbed the spiritual powers of heaven and earth, and regardless of whatever damage it sustained, so long as it was not instantly destroyed, it was able to self-repair. This kind of material was simply perfect for the creation of puppets. The giant golem's retreat rapidly ceased. Its profound spirit jade body did not sustain any damage at all. Shaking its body, it again continued to begin approaching Lin Yingmei. The entire ground seemed to quake as if 10,000 horses galloped upon it, rolling with a thunderclap. Each step shook with a rumble, and the ground gave rise to shockwaves, which would make a person's stance unsteady. An ordinary cultivator, even if they were super void, would be shaken, but Lin Wangmai was like a boulder in the sea. No matter how furious this profound puppet was, her body did not move a single inch. Even the Hua Wanyue who occasionally glanced over was startled. Lin Yingmei once again walked towards that giant puppet. Her eyes were like snow, incomparably bright. The profound puppet stormed. Its slow jolting suddenly accelerated, and amid an ear-splitting sound, its huge fist already ruthlessly struck towards Lin Yingmei's head. An enormous wind pressure even made the girl's long hair flutter. The surrounding dust and dirt were blown scattered in all directions, demonstrating its powerful might. Are you posturing? Lin Yingmei smiled. Majestic Star Panther Head's speed completely was not something the profound puppet could compare to. Let alone that attack appeared extraordinarily strong, seemingly splitting heaven and earth, Lin Yingmei's figure nevertheless did not even suffer. Bang! The ground violently heaved as if there was an earthquake. Amidst the pervasive smoke and dust, a giant hole appeared at the place Lin Yingmei was at. The profound golem's fist concentrated a great amount of killing intent, dropping it down like a cannonball. Lin Yingmei easily evaded, her beautiful figure already like a northern wind passing through. She continuously moved about the profound golem's enormous body. Ice and frost condensed on the puppet's outer surface. The spear tip flashed with a pale white light. Continuously slashing, the spear light left dent after dent on the profound golem's body. Crying frost. Lin Yingmei suddenly called. A snow-white wolf appeared. Under Lin Yingmei's indication, the snow-walking frost-eye beast unfurled its wings of light and rushed up and slammed into the profound golem at the same time. Immediately, this giant golem howled in anguish. The wind pressure of the area was increasingly great, and the profound golem's heavy fist also gave rise to increasingly powerful explosions. Lin Yingmei's figure already was drawn nearly into a line. A boom, 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 boom sound continuously quaked, endlessly creating countless dents on the profound golem's body, as if it would never stop. Meanwhile, Hua Wanyue charged up the platform. She saw the star-piercing arrows were right in front of her, and little Li Guang became excited. Arrow lights dispersed in succession, destroying the crowd of puppets. Hua Wanyue released her heavenly hero Red Luan. The giant red luan bird flapped its wings, and a great expanse of flame fell on the puppets around Hua Wanyue. The hero star took a stride forward, but the instant she stepped onto the platform, an array suddenly glowed. The 3 star-piercing arrows spun, unexpectedly blocking the hero star out. A forbid dance. Damn it, a destruction forbid dance. Hua Wanyue promptly noticed this forbidden's condition was to completely kill all puppets. The girl coldly snorted, beginning her massacre. The majority of the puppets were not too great a trouble. Lin Yingmei and Hua Wanyue both cooperated to dispatch them very easily. However, several of the puppets in the mix were relatively more problematic. The profound golem was one. The swan and eye puppets were also another. A lion-like roar passed by their ears. Each roar stirred their nerves, and even a star general who had gone through 100 battles felt this sound was incomparably oppressive. The swan and eye puppet was a male lion. It possessed long quines, frightening claws and fangs as well as superb speed. The heavenly hero Red Luan basically could not track its movements. Hua Wanyue did not dare be careless. The swan and eye puppet unfurled its wings, gliding at high speed. The tips of the wings broke out with rays of white light, like sharp swords unsheathed. Slashing, the puppets to its side were unexpectedly split in two with one strike. Not feeling talkative, Hua Wanyue immediately drew her bow. Accompanying the second wave of ear-splitting roars, the swan and eye puppet took the initiative to launch an attack. The swan and eye puppets absolutely did not appear to use its claws and fangs. The infuriated puppets not only could spit out swordlight, they could also spray out wind. This breath used wind pressure to form an incomparably powerful vortex, not to be outdone by killing arrays. An ice-cold breath tore apart the earth's obstruction. The entire hall seemed to be trees and leaves in the wind, trembling in that billowing airflow. Hua Wanyue endured the screaming wind pressure to lift her head in search of her goal. When she returned to her senses, the swan and eye puppet already drew near in front of her at high speed. Bow and arrows lost their bold prowess. Hua Wanyue's red jade short spear appeared, immediately slashing, but she nevertheless struck nothing. The swan and eye puppet used its agility that was incongruous to its body to evade her attack. In an instant, the swan and eye puppet unfolded its wings, passing by. Sword light shot downwards. Hua Wanyue sneered. Suddenly she flashed away, like a specter. In their glancing exchange, they evoked an intense sonic boom. In a flash, it ran through their eardrums. And in that ear-piercing resonance, a scream that was completely without warning made everyone's hearts suddenly tighten. The red jade ardent star short spear struck the swan and eye puppet's skull. This spear's power was extremely great, cutting out a line of blood. The swan and eye puppet's body rocked like a kite severed from its string, but there was no effect. Hua Wanyue in the next second was like a phantom. The red spear's bloodline wrapped it up, completely not giving this puppet any leeway to attack. Roar. A powerful roar. Hua Wanyue was shocked. Another two swan and eye puppets suddenly appeared. The swan and eye puppet opened its jaws wide, spitting out a beam of light. Just as it was about to run through Hua Wanyue, at this moment, a cold spear flew over. It was sharper than an arrow in the air as it slashed out a perfect arc, slamming into and running through the two puppets. While the swan and eye puppet roared, a snow-walking frost-eye beast already flew over, spitting out a breath of ice and frost, immediately biting them to pieces. A beautiful figure flashed in front of Hua Wanyue. It was Lin Ningmei. Thanks. Hua Wanyue knew that she had said thanks several times. After saying so, she was somewhat laughing in spite of herself. Lin Ningmei shook her head, completely no minding about this sort of minor affair. The pair joined forces, unstoppable as they swept through the puppets in the main hall. At this moment, this battle also similarly occurred outside of the forbid dance. A pile of puppets attacked, bellowing as they gripped blades and spears. The one surrounded was a man,